Doherty's words made the other two stare wide-eyed, their faces filled with disbelief. Rune became the ruler of Boffing Mountain and banished Balurga, a rival for the throne, directly from Boffing Mountain. Returning to the dwarven territory is forbidden. This time, the war between Boffing Mountain and the Undead has been going on for a while, and then it inexplicably ended. Rune also died, and Balurga became the new king again. Did their time stop? Things that usually take years or decades to come to a conclusion have been completed so quickly by the dwarves. Even Doherty, who was relaying the message, checked it several times when he first received it. Yes, Grey Iron City has re-established contact with the Federation, and previous trade and military cooperation will continue. The king is indeed Balurga now, and I have confirmed this with Grey Iron City, Doherty repeated. Milton frowned, stroking the jewels on the scepter. He continued, so, could Balurga's becoming king have anything to do with the undead? Similarly, Jijilia, the head of the Mage Guild standing to the side, also looked at Doherty. The timing of Balurga becoming king was incredibly coincidental. The dwarves and the undead started a war for no apparent reason, and it ended just as inexplicably. Silverwing City didn't even know who had won. The only news they received was that the dwarf king had died, and his heir, who had been banished from Boffing Mountain, had returned to the throne and become the new ruler. The two looked at Doherty, hoping he could give them an answer. Doherty also shook his head. It's still too early to say. Grey Iron City only conveyed the news of the war's end and Balurga's ascension to the throne to Silverwing City through the communicating conch shell. Other than that, no other information has been revealed. Something's not right. There must be something wrong. Milton's brow remained furrowed. Undead suddenly went to war with Grey Iron City. The gold-eating queen who hindered reinforcements from arriving, and Balurga who suddenly ended the war and became king. Just as the Human Federation confirmed that the gold-eating queen had left and was preparing to provide assistance, news came from Grey Iron City. The war ended, but trade continued. All of this happened so quickly. One link leads to another. It was as if everything that happened was part of a prearranged scheme. Everything is unfolding according to this overall plan. Doherty and Milton's expressions gradually turned grim. If all of this was planned by someone, that's truly terrifying. Jijilia, seeing the two men's faces growing paler and more solemn, said, "Don't think of things in the worst light. It's possible that the dwarves won the war, and after Rune's death, the dwarves brought Balurga back to become the new king. That's possible. However, this seems somewhat far-fetched." Doherty took a deep breath and continued, "The reason I called you two here today is to discuss our future relationship with the dwarves and the security around Silverwing City. Whether it's a coincidence or not, the reappearance of the gold-eating queen is a dangerous thing for Silverwing City. The Federation Council cannot be convened at any time. Right now, the only solution for this is for the Hall of Justice, the Church, and the Mage Association to reach a decision through discussion. We will notify the cities in various regions at that time." The other two thought for a moment, and Milton spoke first. "We're not sure about the situation with the dwarves yet, so we can maintain the current relationship for now. To ensure the safety of Silverwing City, we can increase the number of patrols around the area." Jijilia nodded in agreement. "The association can arrange for some mages to join the patrol team to increase the team's safety, but the Hall of Justice will have to pay for it. The Mage Association is a governing body for Buddhist monks and nuns. You can't expect registered mages to assume any responsibilities. You need to motivate them by issuing tasks and paying them rewards. Therefore, the payment needs to be made by the Hall of Justice." Doherty paused for a moment before continuing. "That's all we can do for now. The Church and Association should increase manpower in the patrol teams. I've also notified the border with Boffing Mountain to increase the number of troops stationed there, in case anything goes wrong." The two nodded, offering no objections. Milton then spoke again, saying softly, "There is a saint in the church who often mentions the dead north of Pearl City, saying that the number of dead there is constantly increasing and has reached a terrifying level. It is very likely related to the events in Grey Iron City." The two looked at Milton. Doherty and his companion naturally knew who this saint was. After all, it is a rare thing for transmigrators to become believers in a place like a church. Doherty said, "Tavik, the Lord of Pearl, did offer an explanation, saying that some wandering undead did appear in the north, but not many." Tavik, who was the city lord at the time, offered an explanation. Undead activity was indeed detected north of Pearl, but it consisted of only scattered ordinary undead. These undead, formed from the corruption of dark power, are not uncommon and pose little threat. In addition, the undead area was an orc area, and the number of undead was not large, so Pearl City did not report it. Milton shook his head. The number of the dead is far greater than he said, and not only Pearl, but Lysis is also experiencing problems. I can feel that faith in God is fading. Then, Archbishop, what do you mean? I feel we should send a team to investigate the area north of Pearl, and the same goes for Lysis. Milton's tone also turned serious. At this time, yes, at this time, you don't need too many people. As long as they are physically strong, this kind of weather is not difficult to overcome. Doherty glanced at the still howling wind outside the window. He did think that the area north of Pearl should indeed be thoroughly investigated to avoid a sudden, large-scale attack by the undead, like the dwarves had. But in this weather, going out is torture. The team might freeze to death outside. How many people does the Archbishop think are suitable? Doherty asked. Milton thought about it carefully and gave his answer. 50 people in total from the Hall of Justice and the Church. Choose those who are trustworthy and in good health to go. Mage Association, should we send someone? Doherty asked the woman beside him. Jagelia smiled and shook her head. You can conduct the investigation yourselves, but if you can reduce the number of people to 10, the association can provide a teleportation scroll, saving you the time spent traveling. The two were immediately overjoyed. That's wonderful. Even if the mage didn't send anyone, providing such a scroll is still a good thing. Then the Hall of Justice and the Church will each select 5 people, and they will set off directly for Lysis and Pearl in the next 2 days. Doherty agreed. Okay, I'll arrange for people to set off as soon as I get back. Good. Next, the three discussed the issue of city defense construction. Silverwing City's city wall is towering, but not as sturdy as Gray Iron City's. It also lacks powerful machinery. If faced with an attack from the same undead, it probably wouldn't last as long as Gray Iron City. Therefore, intending to use Belega to ascend the throne, and during the period of city reconstruction, he purchased a batch of dwarven equipment to increase the defensive capabilities of City Wall. There was also an increase in the number of troops and the development of new weapons. This attack by the undead against the dwarves really scared Silverwing City, causing them to focus more on the city's defenses and the fighting strength of their army. The three chatted until late at night before returning to their respective lodgings. The next day, it started snowing heavily outside the window. Snowflakes, as white as goose feathers, fluttered down, covering the entire city in a layer of silver overnight. Fang Hao sat in the first-floor hall. His eyes were fixed on the Lord's book. The sounds of rabbits and foxes playing and building snowmen came from outside the door. In the regional channel, everyone was talking about the snow. There were also people selling homemade ice sleds, and the discussion was lively. Just then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw the maid leading a tall woman with light purple skin over. Fang Hao closed the Lord's book and sat up straight. How are you doing these past few days? Is your recovery going well? Shadow Sting. Morse has changed into a fur winter suit made by Taylor. The snowflakes remaining on her head and shoulders made her skin tone even more striking. I don't know why. Fang Hao didn't find her skin tone particularly unusual. In fact, she thought it was quite pretty. Morse stared wide-eyed, scrutinizing the man before him with suspicion. A human, controlling the undead army, conquered the dwarf city. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she wouldn't have believed it even if the person she trusted most had told her. Hearing the other person ask him a question, Morse snapped out of his daze and asked warily, "What do you want me to do?" Once she regained consciousness, she already knew her condition. At the same time, she also learned that the man who conquered the dwarf city had become her new master. Moreover, the level of the contract has been raised, changing from verbal secrecy to a contract between the hero and himself. This is what happened when they came out of the wolf pack, only to be subdued by a tiger. She was terrified of the man before her. After all, the undead were never a merciful race. Sit down and let's talk. Fang Hao gestured. Morse sat down beside him, but her eyes remained fixed on him. Fang Hao continued. The territory is expanding rapidly, and I need powerful heroes. Amanda and Dong Jiayue told me about your situation. From now on, you will work for me, and I will naturally not make things difficult for you. What if I don't want to? Morse asked in a stern voice. Why wouldn't you want to? The development of our territory will be a win-win situation for both of us. You also want to live a better life, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be working for faceless ones. They are much worse than me. Perhaps it was because Morse had always been treated like a prisoner. Even now, Morse remains highly wary of Fang Hao. It even felt a bit like a spiteful argument. What's the difference between the undead and demons? Morse sneered. Demon? Are faceless ones related to demons? Fang Hao's expression shifted, but he didn't press the matter further. She was clearly sulking, and if he asked her anything, she would refuse to answer. So he simply smiled and said, "It's all right. Take your time to get used to the environment here. All the heroes here have their own separate residences, and there's also a hot spring. I'll build one for you later so you can settle in and get to know everyone." Morse didn't speak, but looked at the young human above with a strange expression. His attitude made it impossible for me to utter a sarcastic remark. Humph. He snorted and turned his head to the side. Fang Hao ignored her and instead opened Lord's book to check her attributes. Shadow Sting. Morse, Purple Tier 3 Hero. Faction, Night Elf. Template, Purple. Racial traits, Living Beings, Elven Spirit, Natural Resistance. Legion ability, Shadow of the Night, Walking on Flat Ground. Skills, Killing Mastery, Shadow Meld, Elusive, Scorpion Tail Fangs. Inherent skills, Advanced Strength Mastery, Advanced Stealth Mastery, Advanced Tactical Mastery. Spirit of the Spirit. After physical death, the body transforms into a small spirit, increasing movement speed by 50%. Nature Resistance. Reduces the chance of being hit by nature spells by 10% and increases resistance to nature spells by 20%. Shadow of the Night. Units under this unit's command have a reduced chance of being detected by enemies at night. Walking on Flat Ground. Units under this unit's command have 20% less terrain interference and 35% increased movement speed. Slaughter Mastery. Passive. Satisfying the desire to kill will increase your Slaughter Mastery, increasing attack by 20% and movement by 35%. Effect starts from killing an enemy and lasts for 30 seconds. Shadow Cloak. Active. This unit can disappear into the shadows, reducing the chance of being detected by enemies. The effect is increased by 50% at night, 2-minute cooldown. Hidden and undetectable. Passive. This unit is in the shadows, its presence is reduced, and it is not easily noticed. Scorpion Tail Fangs. Active. When using this skill, damage is increased by 50%, and there is a 100% chance of inflicting poison, 10-minute cooldown. Description: Shadow Stings are the sharp blades of the Night Elves, protecting the safety of their race. They concoct highly poisonous potions, applying them to their bodies and blades to kill their enemies by any means possible. Morse's attributes are typical of an assassin unit. All skills are designed to be used in conjunction with assassination techniques. They can conceal themselves in the dark to carry out assassinations. In this respect, it's actually quite similar to Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu's abilities are actually even more exaggerated than hers. Xiaoyu can hide in any shadow, even the shadow of an enemy. There is no specific time frame for the effect. She can remain hidden inside as long as she doesn't come out on her own initiative, or if her shadow suddenly disappears. Find an opportunity to strike. Previously, Fang Hao left Xiaoyu and Li Sis to protect Rebecca while searching for the remaining Sword of Atonement. Thinking about it, it's been quite a while. Now, Lorana is always clinging to Rebecca, so I'm not worried about her safety and can let Xiaoyu come back. After reviewing Morse's attributes, check her loyalty. Shadow Sting. Morse, currently loyal to you by 25 points. Holy crap, wow. They've surpassed Lorana. Finally, someone has surpassed Lorana. 25 o'clock. I bet Morse was thinking to himself whether he should kill himself and launch a counterattack. Let's all perish together. But Morse poses a much smaller threat than Lorana. Morse is a contract hero. Her life is tied to Fang Hao's. If Fang Hao dies, she will die too. As for Lorana, a dark gold level hero, Fang Hao did not have a matching contract at the time, so killing Fang Hao did not have any serious consequences for her. Therefore, Fang Hao is not afraid of what Morse might do, unless she really doesn't want to live anymore. After reviewing Morse's attributes, Fang Hao stood up and said, "Let's go. I'll build you a new place to live." Morse didn't say anything, but got up and followed him out of Lord's Manor. He took her out of the city Lord's mansion. 2 tall snowmen have already been built outside the door, and on their heads are 2 big ears that look like rabbits. They saw the 2 of them come out. Maids, who were having a snowball fight, stopped what they were doing, their faces red from the cold but full of smiles. "Master," the maids bowed. Fang Hao nodded. "Okay, be careful, don't put pebbles in the snowballs." "Wrapping pebbles?" Maid's eyes lit up. Along the way, the people in the city all greeted Fang Hao. Meanwhile, Morse, who was silently following behind, found this territory increasingly difficult to understand. What kind of territory is this exactly? The undead and living beings live together, and in addition to humans and dwarves, orcs have also appeared. Moreover, these people were all very nice to the man in front of them. That kind of kindness isn't just superficial enthusiasm, but genuine kindness that you can feel. What on earth is going on? Fang Hao led her to the area where the heroes lived. The homes of Dimitrika, Asidi, and Lorana, among other heroes, were all built here. The layout is similar to that of a villa community. Fang Hao looked at the empty space in front of him and asked, "How is this place?" "Your neighbor is Lorana. She doesn't live here much, and the house is always empty." "There are also neighbors. What about the undead? Do they live here too?" Morse suddenly asked. What she cared about was the female undead who could manipulate gold. That's terrifying. She never wanted to have any contact with that female ghost again in her life. The undead heroes have their own residential area over in the undead region. Would you like to live there? Fang Hao asked curiously. No, Morse hurriedly explained. Fang Hao nodded. Is this place okay? Lorana is very beautiful, and she's very approachable. Okay, Morse agreed. Fang Hao nodded, opened Lord's book, and began construction. Soon, a 4-story building rose from the ground, with courtyards in the front and back. Fang Hao didn't ask her anything after that. In the front yard, flower beds and a fountain were built for her, and in the backyard, stone tables and chairs, as well as a hot spring, were built. A white mist rises, creating a scene resembling a fairyland. Morse's eyes widened. This was the first time she had ever seen transmigrators' methods. Moreover, I was able to get a separate house and a hot spring as soon as I arrived. Isn't that a privilege that only nobles have? All of these are mine now. Morse was somewhat incredulous. Once construction was complete, Fang Hao continued. If you need anything in the house, just go to the warehouse and move it yourself. By the way, just command the skeletons to move it. They won't attack you. Oh, okay, thank you. Morse said thank you instinctively. Shadow Assassin, Morse, increases your loyalty by 10 points. Current loyalty is 35. The system notification was followed by the message, thank you. Indeed, giving gifts is the fastest way to increase loyalty. Even though she still had a cold expression on her face, her loyalty still increased by 10 points. Fang Hao wasn't in a hurry. There was plenty of time, and loyalty would gradually increase over time. He would not exploit or oppress the heroes. There has never been a case of loyalty declining. All right, you'll have to arrange the rest yourself. Whether you plan to live on the first or second floor, it's up to you. If you have any questions, you can ask me or anyone else. After giving his instructions, Fang Hao turned and left. Morse stood in the heavy snow, looking at the small building and hot spring in front of him, lost in thought. After settling Morse in, Fang Hao walked back alone. The snow fell gently and steadily. The maids, who were playing and building a snowman outside, ran off to play somewhere else. Only 2 fat snowmen remained, standing in front of Lord's Manor. Fang Hao entered Lord's Manor, poured himself a cup of hot tea, and sat down by the fireplace. It's all over now. Sipping tea and warming myself by the fire, it's really comfortable. It would be even better if there was a cat to pet. Just as I was enjoying this rare moment of peace, Lord's book dinged again. Fang Hao jolted awake, sat up, and opened the Lord's book to take a look. Li Rong's private message. Fang Hao, news came from Chao Jingji that Su Haid has made a new move. Chao Jingji, Su Haid. Fang Hao cleared his head and immediately clarified the relationship between the two of them. Previously, Su Haid instructed Chao Jingji to ambush Li Rong, but after Li Rong retaliated, Chao Jingji became an undercover agent planted next to Su Haid. This guy is really suited for this job. The news came through immediately. Tell me in detail. Fang Hao replied. Li Rong replied. Chao Jingji said that the church selected some people to travel with the Hall of Justice to Prol to investigate the matter of the dead. Su Haid was among them, as was Li Sis. Investigating the undead? In this weather? Fang Hao glanced at the snowflakes falling outside the window. Chao Jingji said that the dwarves are under attack by the undead, which has put a lot of pressure on Silverwing City. But it seems that they are not rushing there. They should be going to Prol by some kind of teleportation and then to Li Sis City, Li Rong said. Teleport. There are actually quite a few ways to achieve teleportation. In addition to the demon teleportation carried by Fang Hao's own Book of Demons, there are also teleportation scrolls, the Merchant Alliance's teleportation array, and so on. It's not surprising that Silverwing City possesses such items or methods. In fact, it's quite normal. Which major power doesn't have any goods? When Grey Iron City was breached, many dwarf nobles fled in various ways, and half of the ministers were gone. Fang Hao edited the message again and sent it over. Do you know the number of people? When are we departing? However, such props or teleportation light screens have certain requirements. The number of people will not be too large. The number is uncertain, but it will not exceed 10 people. They should head directly to Prol tomorrow, and then go to Li Sis. Okay, I understand. After a while, Li Rong replied again. If I get the chance, I'll kill him and avenge me. Okay. After hanging up the chat, Fang Hao looked at his map again. The investigation team from Silverwing City will arrive in Prol City tomorrow, and he needs to be prepared. Kill this team? This is one way to solve the problem, but Silverwing City will pay more attention to this area going forward. They might even directly deploy troops to the cities of Li Sis and Prol. If he wants to consolidate his control over the city, he will have no choice but to go to war with the Human Federation. This contradicts his plans. If left unchecked, problems are very likely to be discovered. The problem with the city of Li Sis is the statue of the god of light in the temple. Yes, and there's also the ghost hero, Xiao Yu, who remained in Li Sis City. Even though Xiao Yu's whereabouts are mysterious and not easily detected, there are still some dangers. Who knows what special abilities the church might have, or if it could sense the spirits of the dead. It would be best to bring her back. Prol City is even simpler. There are no undead or undead heroes. The main problem is the large-scale undead north of Prol. We cannot allow the Silverwing City team to gather intelligence here. The fortress in the middle is a good barrier, preventing this team from passing through. Sitting by the fireplace, Fang Hao stared at the map for a long time. I carefully considered all the possible areas where problems might arise. The first step is to bring Xiao Yu back. If the Silverwing City investigation team finds out, it will be hard to explain. After making up his mind, he had someone summon Dimitrika. Then the teleportation light screen was activated, and the two went inside. When I opened my eyes again, I was already in the Lord's Mansion Hall of Li Sis City. It was the same familiar red carpet, with blue federal flags. Nothing has changed, yet it remains clean and tidy. Just then, a maid happened to pass by. Fang Hao recognized the maid. She was the one who had been tricked into coming to Silverwing City by Grote, named Stacy. Fang Hao did not kill her at the time, but handed her over to Rebecca to deal with. Later, Fang Hao learned that Rebecca had whipped the maid several times, a common method used by nobles to punish servants. Despite the punishment, Rebecca kept her at the city lord's mansion, though her position became more peripheral. Do some cleaning work. Upon seeing Fang Hao, Stacy was visibly flustered and immediately bowed. Lord of the city. Where's Rebecca? Fang Hao asked. The lady is in the study, Stacy said softly. Okay, you go ahead with your work, Fang Hao said, then stopped after taking 2 steps and asked in a low voice. Is Lorana here? Stacy replied. Miss Lorana left 2 weeks ago. Oh, okay, you go ahead with your work. After saying that, she continued walking upstairs. I went upstairs and came to the study. Then they heard Rebecca's voice coming from inside the room. It sounds like they're outlining the follow-up work arrangements in the city. His tone revealed the decisive and domineering aura of a person in power. Fang Hao waited at the door for a while. When the door opened, several ministers who were being reprimanded and were covered in sweat came out. He went into the room and then closed the door. Rebecca was writing something with her head down, unaware that someone had taken advantage of the open door to come in. Today, Rebecca wore her long hair up, a white long dress underneath, and a blue cotton robe over it. She has the air of an aristocratic woman. He was startled when he caught a glimpse of a figure approaching out of the corner of his eye, and he suddenly looked up. When he saw it was Fang Hao, his eyes clearly showed a hint of surprise. Then, with a straight face, he said calmly, You're here. There were only the 2 of them in the room, so Fang Hao didn't have much to worry about, and simply picked her up. He sat in the chair and let her sit on his lap. My thighs were enveloped in a soft, elastic texture. I missed you, so I came to visit. Rebecca was suddenly picked up and let out a soft cry, but hearing the man's sweet words, she felt a sweet warmth in her heart. She just pretended to be serious, putting on a slightly angry look, and lightly tapped his arm with her hand. Stop messing around. I still have some things to write. Fang Hao hadn't seen her for a while and missed her a bit. Seeing her serious expression, he didn't dare to be too cocky and smiled. You go ahead and do your work. I'll talk to you when you're done. Rebecca pursed her lips, then sat on his lap and continued writing on the table. As I was writing, I felt a large hand reach in. Rebecca paused slightly in her hand, her body beginning to fidget restlessly. After finishing writing the documents on the table, Rebecca finally looked up at her lover, whom she hadn't seen in a long time. She grabbed his fidgeting hand and scolded him. "What are you doing? You're not behaving yourself as soon as you arrive. I missed you so much. TCH, I don't believe you." Rebecca still held his hand tightly and continued. "Olivia messaged me last night that Silverwing City has sent an investigation team over." Fang Hao was taken aback. Rebecca actually knew about this too. This woman is indeed well informed. "Your best friend is too good to you, telling you things like this," Fang Hao said in surprise. Rebecca pouted. "She's my best friend, and she knows that if I lose Lee Sis, I'll be in big trouble, so she tries her best to help me." Fang Hao nodded, but didn't say anything more about it. Instead, he asked, "Make sure everything is arranged in Lee Sis. Don't let those guys find any excuses." "Understood. I've already started making arrangements." Rebecca tossed her hair. "I've seen this kind of thing a lot. Nothing will go wrong." "Yeah, you're really amazing." Fang Hao took the opportunity to nuzzle against her chest. It seems that all Olivia told Rebecca was that a survey team had come to Lee Sis. There was no mention of the undead north of Pearl. Otherwise, Rebecca would remind herself as well. Fang Hao didn't plan to tell her that she couldn't be of much help in this regard. "I told her, what clues did I give? So Rebecca can go and handle her own affairs, while he takes care of the matters concerning the dead." "Oh, right. I'll take Xiaoyu with me later, so the church won't find out." Fang Hao looked up from the soft fragrance. "All right, take them with you." Rebecca's face flushed, and her eyes became even more alluring. "When the investigation team comes, are you, the city lord, going to stay here too? We don't want to be unable to find you when the time comes." Forehead. "Yes, I am the lord of Lee Sis, and I swore an oath in the council." "That would be great. I wish I could stay here every day," Fang Hao said. "Ill." Fang Hao smiled and began to move his hands around, getting increasingly restless. The two did not linger for long. A maid's voice came from outside the door announcing the arrival of the maid. Rebecca quickly straightened her clothes and glared angrily at the man who was still causing trouble. The door opened again, and the two went out together. Meanwhile, several guards emerged from a room on one side, bowed to Fang Hao, and followed behind Rebecca. These men were Rebecca's bodyguards, recruited after she returned from Silverwing City. Fang Hao was quite familiar with one of them, Angus, the leader of the Blazing Flame mercenary group. A female leader with a masculine personality and a very forthright character has been recruited by Rebecca to become one of her bodyguards. The two walked ahead, followed by a group of guards. As Rebecca walked, she said softly, "The city has arranged jobs for all the residents, and the supplies you brought have been distributed. This winter is better than usual. There are no refugees outside the city, and we can't see any frozen corpses anymore." You could tell that Rebecca sounded relaxed. "It's a relief that not too many people died this winter." "That's good. With such a responsible city lord like you, Lee Sis City will only get better and better," Fang Hao immediately praised. Rebecca glared at him with her beautiful eyes. "And what benefits did you give Priestess Miriam? She's always praising your contributions to the city's residents in the temple. You didn't do anything to her, did you?" Rebecca said in a low voice. Fang Hao was speechless for a moment. What did you do to her, and what did it mean? "The Priestess Miriam is old enough to be her grandmother." He cleared his throat and said, "Praising me is not something I should do. Haven't I contributed enough to the city of Lee Sis?" "Huh, really? What?" Rebecca was quite familiar with the Priestess Miriam. Even someone as rigid and unapproachable as her has to consider the priest's feelings. You cannot order her around in a commanding tone. But her high regard for Fang Hao makes one wonder what exactly happened. Fang Hao thought about it and realized there was no point in hiding it. In particular, Rebecca's loyalty to herself reached 100 points. He coughed lightly and said, "It's nothing. Priestess Miriam has a son whose situation is somewhat special. I promised to give her son the status of an ordinary resident in the future." "Son? Miriam was married? How come I didn't know that?" "Your illegitimate child. Are you crazy? His son is older than me, and your illegitimate child was born before you," Fang Hao retorted, secretly pinching her, but hard. The taut texture is incredibly soothing, giving one a thrill. Suddenly ambushed, Rebecca flinched and glared angrily. He then secretly glanced at the situation of the guards behind him. Seeing that his guards had distanced themselves from him, and that there were maids and lizard men in between, he realized that his guards were keeping a distance from him. My wildly beating heart finally calmed down a little. His face showed reproach. Yet there was also a thrill of being in public. Gritting his teeth, he continued walking out. Upon arriving at the hall, Rebecca went to take care of her own business, while Fang Hao went up the stairs on the other side. Following the stairs, we arrived at a room on the inner side of the second floor. Standing in front of the door, I knocked gently. The door opened, and Fang Hao and Dimitrika went inside. The room was dimly lit, with all the curtains drawn, allowing only a faint light to enter. "My lord, you've arrived." The dim shadows began to wriggle, gradually revealing a slender figure. It is his own ghost-type hero, Xiaoyu. "Yes, Xiaoyu, I came to see you. How have you been lately?" Fang Hao said with a smile. Disaster Song. Hilda, Purple Tier 5 Hero. Xiaoyu's rank has actually reached Purple, and it has even been upgraded to the 4th rank. Fang Hao reopened her profile. Then they discovered that Xiaoyu's 12 Sword of Atonement missions were already complete. No wonder its rank was directly upgraded to Purple. "Thank you for your concern, sir. This place is very nice, and Miss Rebecca has tried her best to accommodate my requests," Xiaoyu said softly. Then he sat down in a seat to the side. "Okay, that's good. There's no danger here with Rebecca. Come back to the territory with me later, and we'll talk about it after winter," Fang Hao said. "Yes, sir." After finishing their business, the two chatted for a while longer. Just as I was about to leave, a squeak sound came from beneath my feet. Looking down, I saw a skull rat, its little paws clutching a folded piece of paper, staring at Fang Hao with wide eyes. Skull rat. Fang Hao took the paper and opened it. The list above indicates the resources Skull Rat needs this time: food and some items to keep warm. In exchange, Fang Hao can request intelligence from them at any time, or go and inquire about certain things. Fang Hao did not refuse. He picked up a pen and wrote it down on a piece of paper. He would deliver the necessary resources to the sewer opening that afternoon. After finishing writing, he folded the paper and put it back into Skull Rat's paw. Skull Rat squeaked twice more, then turned and burrowed under the floorboards. Afternoon, Fang Hao went to the opening leading to the sewer. In the Lord's book, a certain amount of food and furs were exchanged and delivered to the cave entrance. This amount of food should be enough to feed the rats for about a month. As for what happens next, we'll need to exchange intelligence. We can't exchange a promise for a winter's worth of food. Come out from Rebecca's side. Fang Hao was also refreshed and called over Dimitrika and Xiaoyu from the next room. The demon teleportation is released again and appears in the Lord's mansion in Pearl. It was already late. The City Lord's mansion hall was completely empty. Not a single person was there. They summoned a guard and led Fang Hao and the other two to the area where Tavik lived. I just entered the buildings. Then I saw Tavik hurrying over. "Lord, Tavik, how's winter in the city?" Fang Hao and his group sat down on a chair nearby. Tavik immediately said, "As you instructed, many temporary jobs have been set up in the city, providing warm clothing and food. There are also no bandits causing trouble in the surrounding villages. This year is the best year in many years. Are there any refugees?" Previously, some homeless people were assigned to temporary jobs. As long as they are willing to work, they will have no problem getting through this winter. That's not bad. "Yes, sir. Thanks to you. The residents of the city are now praising your kindness and virtue." Tavik, being a businessman, was generous with his praise. Of course, Fang Hao also hopes to become a good lord. That sounds very helpful. All right, I'm here to let you know that an investigation team from Silverwing City will be coming tomorrow. Be prepared and don't let them find out anything, Fang Hao said immediately. Tavik was just calmly drinking his tea. Upon hearing this, he spat out all the tea he was drinking. He coughed several times before asking in surprise, "Investigation team? Investigating what?" The 100 Cities Federation operates on a system where each city is self-governing. Unless you violate certain rules, no one will interfere. The sudden arrival of this investigation team has put Tavik on edge. "I think the investigation into the undead in the north will be conducted discreetly. Just pretend you don't know anything and make sure they don't find any evidence against you. You don't need to worry about the north. I'll intercept them at the fortress," Fang Hao instructed. "Oh, I understand." Tavik breathed a sigh of relief. "Undead, you can investigate if you want. It's fine as long as it has nothing to do with me. Fang Hao will handle the matter of the dead." "All right, I'm all done here." Tavik bowed again. Fang Hao nodded, re-released demon teleportation, and returned to his main city with Dimitrika and Xiaoyu. The next day, early morning, the city of Pearl was still shrouded in the gloom of the pre-dawn hours. Snowflakes drifted down from the sky, and the city fell silent. A dirty corner. A golden magic circle rapidly formed on the snow-covered ground. When the magic circle was completed, its light dimmed, and several figures appeared at the location of the magic circle. Ah, a ghost! There's a ghost! The beggar, huddled in the corner, was drawn to the scene before him. He rubbed his eyes, looked at the group of people who had suddenly appeared, and let out a scream. He turned and fled to the other end of the alley. He kept muttering, "Ghost! Ghost!" under his breath. 5 people stood on the snow, all tall and burly, wearing gray leather cloaks. Through the leather cloak, one could see the armor and weapons inside. Watching the beggar shout as he walked away, the nearby residents began to curse and light candles. One of them said, "Let's go. Let's leave here and not attract anyone's attention." The 5 nodded and then walked away into the distance. After walking some distance, one of them asked, "Captain Bakel, what's the plan next?" This 5-person team was the investigation team sent by Silverwing City. The original plan was for 10 people, but in order to narrow down the mission objectives, it was reduced to 5 people. 3 people in the Hall of Justice, 2 people in the church. The Hall of Justice was led by Bakel, while the church's leader was Saint Suhaid. Bakel pulled a green parrot from his pocket and placed it on his shoulder, saying, "When it gets light, book a few rooms at the inn, then head straight north to investigate the undead." "Thief, don't run," the parrot shouted as soon as it came out. Click, click, click. The surrounding residents erupted in noise again, shouting that there was a thief. Bakel pinched the parrot's beak. "Let's go. Let's find another place." The group traveled to several different locations. Finally, dawn broke. The once quiet city seemed to come alive instantly, and pedestrians began to appear on the streets. Workers at work, shops that have opened. The city became noisy. Rose Tavern, the only one that looked relatively clean and also offered accommodation and food. Pushing open the door, behind the bar was a somewhat overweight middle-aged man. "Do you have any rooms available?" Bakel stepped forward and asked the owner. The boss looked up and glanced at the 4 people not far away. "Yes, how many rooms do you need?" 3 rooms, 5 days. Bakel glanced at the price list and paid the corresponding price directly. "Okay." The boss took the money and handed them a wooden sign with the room number written on it. Bakel took it and ordered breakfast for 5 people. After taking a quick bite, the group turned and left the store. They had just left. The owner then sneaked out and went to the Enjoying Life hot pot restaurant across the street. The Silverwing City investigation team. I strolled around the city. This is not a large border town. It is even somewhat small. It seems to be developing quite well. Everywhere you look, there are people busy with various tasks, and the beggar who shouted last night has also appeared in the work team. The group went out through the north gate, their feet treading on the snow-covered ground. They started heading north. Saint Suhaid walked in the middle of the procession, holding the Lord's book in his hand. He looked at the map that had been generated on it. As you walk, try to figure out which way to go. The whole world was a silvery white, and without a map in hand, it would be really hard to be sure if you were heading in the right direction. We walked until noon. They finally saw a river whose surface was frozen. On the opposite bank of the river stood a tall fortress. This is the dividing line between humans and orcs. The area on the other side belongs to the orcs, Bakel said, looking at the tightly closed fortress. Suhaid frowned. This was different from the information he had received. What about the hordes of the dead to the north? Did they not see the snow because it was the same color as the bones? Captain Bakel, is there a possibility that undead will appear in this orc territory? Suhaid said softly. Bakel glanced at the towering city wall. He said to his men, "Go and knock on the door." One of his men nodded, stepped forward, and shouted, "We are from Silverwing City." "Whose fortress is this?" The sound traveled far in the open area. Soon, bullhorns appeared on the city wall, and then the head of the bull-headed man popped out. Even when it was snowing heavily, these bull-headed men had their arms bare, revealing their bright red skin. "Who are you?" A deep voice came from above city wall, emanating from the bull-headed man. Suhaid immediately stepped forward, revealing a friendly smile. "We are from Silverwing City, and we want to pass through the fortress to get to." "Get out of here, don't disturb our sleep." Bull-headed man suddenly interrupted them. Suhaid's smile froze, and the others behind him also stood there stunned. In Silverwing City, whether it's the Hall of Justice or the church, they are figures who can do whatever they want in the city. When people from Neo meet people from either of these two sides, they must respectfully address them as sir. When have I ever been treated like this? I was scolded as soon as I opened my mouth. "You're going a bit too far with that. We just had some business to attend to, and we're just going to take a look," Suhaid said loudly, his smile fading. Bull-headed man paid no attention to any of this. He continued to shout, "Stay in your own territory and don't come to our side. You." Suhaid was about to step forward to continue arguing, but seeing the arrows sticking out from the top of the wall, they had no choice but to turn back. He could only mutter under his breath, "A rude, inhuman beast." Seeing that the fortress was impassable, Bakel said, "Let's go. Let's follow the river and see if we can get through to other places." Suhaid nodded and led his men, following Bakel eastward along the river. However, as they walked, their expressions grew increasingly grim, even outside the fortress's perimeter. On the other side of the river, there was still a group of bull-headed men walking alongside them. Their eyes were fixed on them. It's like looking at a thief. They walked, and the bull-headed man walked. They stopped to eat, and the bull-headed man stopped too. This is fucking. They wouldn't let them cross the river. More than a dozen pairs of bull's eyes stared at them intently. It was as if these people would steal some treasure from the orcs if they weren't kept a close eye on them for a moment. Time passed little by little. By the afternoon, they still hadn't made any progress. I didn't see a skeleton or even any wild animals. Instead, he was being watched by bull-headed man the whole way. I feel so sad. It felt like I'd swallowed a fly. Let's go back, Bakel said helplessly. The group nodded, turned around, and started walking back until they left. Looking back, bull-headed man was still standing there staring. He looked worried. These bull-headed men, are they out of their minds? Someone cursed. It feels like something's targeting humans. We might have come at the wrong time, Bakel said. A whole day wasted. The group muttered to themselves as they quickened their pace back to Rose Tavern. The faces of the group were all very grim. After a whole day of freezing temperatures, they hadn't gotten any intelligence at all. Moreover, at the border fortress, he was quite infuriated by the bull-headed man. It's impossible to explain to them. They were just going there to investigate something. But the bull-headed men not only wouldn't let them pass, but also stared at them like they were criminals. The two groups of people were walking on opposite sides of a river. Bull-headed man also occasionally made provocative noises. Bang! Suhaid slammed his fist on the table and cursed. Those damned beasts are doing it on purpose. They're clearly trying to stop us and not let us pass. Regarding the matter of the spirits from the north, it has always been Suhaid who has been advocating for an investigation. This is also his chance to compete for the position of Archbishop. Now that he finally had the opportunity to investigate, he came with absolute confidence. However, they were blocked by those bull-headed men. Don't rush. We have plenty of time. Understand? Let's buy a few horses, go straight around, avoid those bull-headed men, and take a look, Bakel suggested. With a living being's fortress so close by, the possibility of undead existing there is extremely low. But this time their mission is to investigate the matter of the dead, and even if they have a guess in their hearts, they must investigate carefully. Okay, let's set off early tomorrow. Bakel thought for a moment and said, "No, leave 2 people in the city to gather information, and the rest of you go out of the city to continue searching for the movements of the undead." Okay, it's settled then. After discussing their strategy, the group began to eat. Meanwhile, the bar owner, who was wiping the table, seemed to be deep in thought. The next day, early in the morning, Suhaid frowned and walked back. Seeing his expression, Bakel asked, "What's wrong?" Suhaid said in confusion, "Yesterday, I saw stables selling horses, but when I went there this morning, they were all sold out." "Who bought it?" "What a coincidence." "The boss said they were bought by a caravan. They said all the caravan's horses had died of illness, and they urgently needed horses to transport the goods out of town. So all the horses in the city had been bought," Suhaid said. Another church member standing nearby said, "Why don't we go to the city lord's mansion and borrow a few horses? No matter what, the city lord's mansion must have horses." "No, our mission is to be carried out covertly. We can't let the people here know we're here." Bakel immediately rejected this answer. At that moment, tavern's owner walked over. With a broad smile, he said, "Oh dear, are you gentlemen heading out?" "Yes. Does the boss know where I can buy horses for traveling?" Bakel asked. The shopkeeper asked, "Don't you sell them at the stables near the east gate?" "They're sold out there. Are there any other places where I can buy them?" "Sold out? That's going to be hard to find now. The city is cracking down hard. Except for the stables on the east side. It's not allowed to sell horses privately," the shopkeeper said. "Yes, I see. Where do you want to go? If not, I can arrange a guide for you. You can take his carriage there, but it will be a bit pricey." The group's eyes lit up upon hearing this. They thought this was a good idea, as these guides knew the area. "We can ask them then whether there are any spirits of the dead." After exchanging a few words in hushed tones, the group immediately agreed. Sure. Boss, please arrange it for us. Money is no problem. Okay, where to? We want to go north, to the Orc territory area. Oh dear, Orc territory isn't safe. I need to ask around to see if anyone is willing to go. It's hard to say. The boss wiped the burlap on his hands. How about this? I'll let you know this afternoon. If it works out, I'll have him take you there tomorrow morning. The boss left. After discussing it, the group decided to leave the city and continue walking north. Go check on the situation. On the other side. At this time, Fang Hao had just gotten up. After washing up, I left the room. I just walked down the stairs. Then I saw gold-eating Queen Amanda, already sitting in the first floor hall waiting. The dead do not need to sleep or rest. They always have plenty of time. She held the scepter in her hand, silently gazing ahead. It gives people a sense of loneliness. Amanda only looked up when she heard the sound of people coming downstairs. Lord Fang Hao. Amanda stood up and bowed. Fang Hao felt that she was unusually polite today. Good morning, Amanda. Good morning, sir. Fang Hao came down and sat down next to Amanda. Amanda, is something the matter? Amanda stated directly. Dujin brought back news of the Otis Great Graveyard last night. Dujin is the captain of Skeleton Merchant. Amanda was previously very concerned about the current situation of the kingdom of Anglianel. Fang Hao then instructed Dujin to inquire about the situation over there through Merchant Alliance. It seems we have obtained some valuable information. Otherwise, Amanda wouldn't have come to find him directly. How's the situation over there? Fang Hao poured himself a glass of water. Just as I suspected, the former kingdom of Anglianel no longer exists. Otis treats ordinary people as slaves. The harsh bone tax means that ordinary living beings cannot live past 30 years old and are forcibly transformed into undead soldiers and incorporated into the army, Amanda said. Fang Hao frowned. He knew about the bone tax issue. Living past 30 is truly terrifying. People are barely adults, haven't even lived a few years of life to their fullest, and are already being turned into skeletons. Is the information accurate? Fang Hao asked with some doubt. The skeleton merchant brought back the news, and Dujin also inquired with the goblins at the Merchant Alliance, so the reliability of the news can be confirmed. Good heavens, Bone King, Otis, you're really ruthless. People living on his side don't even live past 30. But Fang Hao was also curious as to why Otis was in such a hurry to convert the troop type. Living beings and the dead have had minor frictions over the years, but it hasn't escalated to the point of a power struggle. Does he have some kind of plan? His stringent bone tax and stockpiling of troops must indicate a war plan. What do you mean, Amanda? Fang Hao looked at Amanda. I want to reclaim my former territory and establish a new kingdom of Anglianer. My lord, I hope you can help me and save the descendants of the people of Anglianer. Amanda spoke, kneeling on one knee, her tone sincere. This was the first time Amanda had ever looked like this. Previously, although she maintained respect for Fang Hao, she was not as sincere as she is now. Fang Hao took a deep breath, nodded, and said, Amanda, get up first. Since you want to do it, I'm naturally willing to help you. Amanda nodded and stood up. Call Dimitrika and Asidi over, and bring the sand table up too, Fang Hao said loudly. The maid went to fetch the two heroes. The huge sand table was also moved to the very center. Before long, two heroes walked in. Fang Hao gave a brief account of Amanda's situation, and the four of them gathered on either side of the sand table. The sand table displays all the cities, towns, and villages within the territory, as well as the mountainous terrain. In the past, Fang Hao always used the map in his own lord's book. This type of sand table is used relatively infrequently. Amanda, where is the Otis Great Necropolis located, or in which direction? Fang Hao asked. Amanda tapped it gently. Liquid gold slowly flowed onto the sand table. It is located southeast of the main city, bordering Huiwe Highlands, where Lorena lives. A golden area gradually appeared. Gold has shaped the contours of mountains and the indistinct paths. This is the land of Anglian. It's been so long that my memory is a bit hazy, and I can only vaguely remember what the landscape used to be like, Amanda said softly. Fang Hao looked at the extra piece on the sand table. Is this golden power really that useful? Even the missing map was filled in, and the proportions and shapes are very similar. Once the location of the Otis Great Necropolis was determined, the problem became much easier to solve. Bordering the Huiwe Highlands, it would be much easier to launch an attack. Otherwise, if another force were to emerge in the middle, it would indeed be a troublesome matter. Fang Hao examined it carefully and said, it borders the Huiwe Highlands, which makes our attack easier. Dimitrika and Asidi were also looking down at the map. These two heroes, recruited by Fang Hao using scrolls, are highly loyal. Fang Hao said he wanted to play against Otis, and they all had no objections. Moreover, the two expressed surprise and anger at Otis for bringing the bone tax to humans at age 30. The current war with Otis looks like an undead fighting an undead, but in their hearts, they believe they were on the side of justice, and that they should attack the evil king of the dead and rescue the living beings from their suffering. What we lack is intelligence on Otis, troop numbers, troop deployment, and a clear roadmap. Rushing in will only waste time and delay the process, Asidi said. Dimitrika added, the weather is not suitable for even the undead to send out troops right now. The two people proposed conditions that were not currently available. Intelligence and weather. There is basically no contact between us and Otis, and we don't have any specific information at all. The current weather conditions make it very difficult to send troops into battle. Amanda understood these circumstances. He said, I don't intend to attack Otis' Great Necropolis right now. We can use this time to gather intelligence on the enemy's area and then consider attacking after the snowfall. Fang Hao nodded, indicating that Amanda's idea was good. He continued, well, I still have another question in my mind. The three looked at him with curiosity. Fang Hao continued, Otis, are you making some kind of preparation by setting up such a harsh bone tax? The three of them immediately had an idea. What you mean, sir, is that Otis is amassing troops in preparation for war, Dimitrika said immediately. Yes, I suspect so. Otherwise, what would be the point of him doing this? Only someone eager to amass military strength would keep increasing bone tax to accumulate the skeleton soldiers' population. Fang Hao gripped the edge of the sand table with both hands. That's quite possible. The other two agreed. As the king of the dead, the ruler of a faction, Otis's actions must have a purpose. By amassing troops, they must be preparing for a war. Fang Hao's gaze returned to the sand table, looking at the area covered in gold. She murmured, next, we need to analyze who he's going to attack. Humans? Or the Huiwe highlands of the vampires? Or perhaps another place bordering Otis? The other four people watched quietly. After a while, I still didn't have any better ideas. Fang Hao then said directly, let's go straight to Blood Fortress and talk to Lorana about it. After saying that, he released the teleportation light screen, and the four of them walked into the light screen. It reappeared. They found themselves in a dimly lit ancient castle. A dark cloud shrouded the sky above the castle. The snow continued to fall, and even in broad daylight, little sunlight shone through. The castle's hall was empty, with little decoration and hardly anyone around. Fang Hao checked the map again to confirm that he had arrived at Blood Fortress, and that the teleportation had not failed. Tap, tap, tap. Just then, crisp footsteps echoed in the corridor. In the dimly lit corridor, a slender figure was walking towards them step by step with long legs. Lorana wore a purple robe with red patterns embroidered on the collar and cuffs. Beneath the knee-length robe were two calves clad in black, and on her feet were a pair of black leather boots. She exudes a queenly aura. Despite the weather, she still had the mood to wear black stockings. Aren't these vampires cold? Why didn't you say anything before you came? I have a terrible temper when I wake up. Lorana's cold voice rang out. He walked in from the corridor, put his hands on his buttocks, and sat down on a stone bench. Grumpy when you wake up? That's just you being grumpy. You don't even sleep in a bed. Seeing Lorana sit down, Fang Hao said softly, Lorana, this is Amanda's new hero who has joined the territory. Amanda said, Lorana, it's been a long time. Lorana's sleepy eyes widened instantly, and after a long while, she exclaimed in surprise, Amanda, is it really you? Yes, Amanda replied. Seeing the situation of the two, Fang Hao remembered that Amanda had shown that she was familiar with Lorana when they were in the underground palace. After all, they've lived for hundreds of years. Judging from their tone now, they used to have a pretty good relationship. It could even be a close friend or best friend. As for a romantic relationship, that was probably impossible, since Lorana was still attracted to men at that time. Amanda, it's so good to see you, Lorana said sincerely. Yes, I was rescued by Lord Fang Hao, and now I am a hero of the territory. You were also rescued by him? Lorana asked instinctively. Huh? The emotionless spirit asked in a questioning tone. Seeing that the two still wanted to continue their conversation, Fang Hao had no choice but to interrupt them. Amanda, let's get down to business first. Amanda nodded and gave up her seat. Fang Hao said softly, Lorana, how much do you know about the Otis Great Necropolis? Otis Great Necropolis. I rarely stay in Blood Fortress, so I don't know much about that place. Lorana crossed her legs. Before she fell into slumber, Otis' great necropolis was still called the Kingdom of Anglianel, and it had been in a slumber for 100 years, having been dismembered by the Red Duke. After waking up, I didn't pay attention to this matter. He went to Lysis and spent all his time with Rebecca. I'd be lucky if they even knew who Otis was. Fang Hao continued. We have received information that Otis is amassing a large number of troops, and we suspect that he may be preparing to wage war against the surrounding forces. War? The Huiwa Highlands. I don't know. It's possible, but unlikely. The Huiwa Highlands aren't very big. It wouldn't take much effort to conquer this area. Lorana glared at him, somewhat displeased that he said Huiwa Highlands wasn't big. What you up to? Fang Hao continued. After winter, we plan to launch an attack on Otis' great necropolis from the Huiwa Highlands to help Amanda rebuild Anglianer. Lorana looked somewhat surprised. She knew Amanda's attachment to the Kingdom of Anglianel, but she didn't expect her to still be so persistent. He even persuaded Fang Hao to directly initiate a war of attrition. She pondered for a moment, reflecting on the implications for herself. Finally, he nodded in agreement. Okay, I have no problem with that. Fang Hao nodded. Amanda, Lorana, you two will now be responsible for gathering intelligence on the Otis Great Necropolis. Collect as much relevant information as possible. I will also collect some information through my own channels. Thank you, sir, Amanda replied. Lorana didn't object, and even seemed happy to hear that Amanda would stay. In this desolate ancient castle, having more people might actually be a good thing. After explaining things to the two of them again, Fang Hao then released demon teleportation and returned to his main city. The reconnaissance and map gathering were left to the two of them. After all, they also have 1,000,000 troops there. Return to your main city. Fang Hao lay in bed and opened the Lord's book. After thinking for a moment, I edited a message in the territory channel and sent it out. If anyone has any information about the Otis Great Necropolis or knows any transmigrators there, please contact me. As soon as the message was sent, a series of messages immediately appeared in the previously comm channel. A cemetery? That doesn't sound like a place in the mortal world. Boss, are you going to rob a tomb? The Tomb Raider captain is here to report for duty. If you're going to do tomb raiding, can you take me along? Take one with you. I'll help you light the candles. Messages kept appearing, but none of them were useful. After all, the transmigrators here were added little by little from the periphery of the territory. It's normal not to know about Otis' Great Necropolis. If Fang Hao hadn't been an undead faction himself, he probably wouldn't have heard of Otis, let alone know what Otis' Great Necropolis was. Watching them jump out one by one, Fang Hao edited a message. Useful intelligence, reward. Before the word leap could be sent, a private message notification appeared. It was Su Yang, the middleman who had previously acted as his intermediary in trade with the trolls. Later, Fang Hao sent him to Yu Tianping's territory to become a lord. I occasionally see him speak in the channel, but I rarely take the initiative to contact Fang Hao. Open private messages. Boss, is the Otis Great Necropolis you mentioned a territory ruled by the undead? Fang Hao frowned. Did he know? His original territory was in the troll territory, so how does he know about this? Fang Hao replied. Yes, it's the realm of the dead. Do you have any news? Su Yang. Boss, I know someone who mentioned this before, saying that he is ruled by the undead. If you need information, you can ask him. Forehead. Fang Hao was overjoyed and was about to agree. But then I thought again and deleted the message. His reputation is too eye-catching. If things go wrong, Otis might notice him prematurely. After thinking for a moment, he said, Is this person reliable? Reliable is not an option. We met through a trading channel. Fang Hao said, Here's what you do. Find a reason to contact him soon and find out about the situation in Otis' Great Necropolis. It would be best to find out about their troop strength and the map of that area. Upon seeing Fang Hao's message, Su Yang's heart began to pound. Troop strength, map. This operation looks so familiar. When Fang Hao was planning to attack the Bloody Mountains, he asked him for this kind of intelligence. Oh, history has happened to me again. He was certain that there was a high probability that boss Fang Hao was about to wage war against the undead. The sight of undead fighting undead, with each punch landing squarely on the bone, must be incredibly shocking. He immediately agreed. Understood, boss. I guarantee I'll complete the mission. Yes, let me know if there's any news. If necessary, you can make him some promises. Okay, boss. I'll continue to try to exchange resources with him in a bit. He's short of food, so getting some intelligence shouldn't be too difficult, Su Yang continued. Good. After hanging up the message, no one else privately messaged me. Within the Territories channel, discussions have already begun about techniques for tomb raiding and carrying coffins. The topic has gone a bit too far off track. Seeing that there was no new information, Fang Hao closed Lord's book and went out to inspect the territory. The next day, early morning, Prul, Rose Tavern, Bakel, Suhaid, and a few others got up very early. Yesterday they still gained nothing, being frozen all day without obtaining any useful intelligence. Last night, they meticulously divided up the work again. The two team leaders split up. Bakel led a Hall of Justice soldier to stay in the city to gather intelligence. If there are spirits in the vicinity, some residents must have encountered them. This is a breakthrough point. Suhaid, along with the Temple Knight and another soldier from the Hall of Justice, followed the path introduced by the tavern boss to the city, searching for traces of the dead. Once discovered, take a photo with the Lord's book to preserve evidence. Now, all we have to do is wait for the guide to arrive. Not long after, an old man wearing a fur coat strode in. His gaze swept over everyone present, his eyes taking in several members of Silverwing City. The shop owner immediately came out and introduced them to both parties, saying, "These are the customers who are about to leave." He then said to Suhaid and the others, "This is Old Carrie, a famous hunter in the city. He's been to all sorts of dangerous places around here. Let him lead the way." Old Carrie nodded. "Where to?" Suhaid said. "Go north, to the Orcish territory." "Orc territory? That's not a good place to go. It costs 5 gold a day." Old Carrie held up 5 fingers. Suhaid glanced at Bakel, took out 5 gold coins, and handed them to him. Old Clee tucked it into his pocket. "Let's go out of the city." The group peered out the door and asked curiously, "Where's the carriage? Didn't you say there was a carriage?" Without turning his head, Old Carrie said, "With this heavy snow, will the car wheels even turn outside? If you don't go, you won't get your money back." The old man's attitude was very bad, but compared to the previous bull-headed man, this attitude is already quite good. The 5 separated, and Bakel led his men toward the city center. Suhaid and the other 2 followed behind the old man and walked outside together. We left the city. Suhaid quickened his pace and came to the old man's side. He asked softly, "Mr. Carey, the shopkeeper said you're the most famous hunter in town. Have you ever seen a ghost?" "The undead." Old Carey turned and glanced at him. "You're looking for the undead?" Judging from the old man's tone, he's seen the spirits of the dead. Suhaid immediately replied, "I've never seen it before. I came here to broaden my horizons. Will I be able to see it?" Several people were walking in the snow. The snow crunched under my feet. Old Carey glanced back at the group and adjusted his hat, which had been blown askew by the cold wind. "You want to see the dead? Those skeletons." This can be gleaned from Old Carey's words. There must be undead around Prul, otherwise a hunter wouldn't be so sure about undead and skeletons. Hearing this, the members of the investigation team felt both happy and somewhat worried. The good news is that the trip wasn't in vain. They were able to find information about the dead, and both the Hall of Justice and the church will reward them. For Suhaid, this was a significant achievement, and it would later be crucial in his competition for the position of Archbishop. At the same time, there is also concern that there may be undead of unknown origin appearing around human territory. Will it be attacked by the undead, just like the dwarves boffing mountain? "Yes, I just want to see," Suhaid said. Old Carey nodded. "It's not close to here. You'd better think it over." "It's all right. We've already thought of everything, as long as we can see the dead." "Okay." Old Clee agreed, but didn't stop walking, leading the group through the snow. Suhaid whispered a few words to the others. He quickened his pace and approached Old Carey, asking again, "Mr. Carey, when did these undead appear?" The wind was biting cold, and Old Carey was clearly reluctant to speak. Suhaid took out another gold coin and stuffed it into his hand before speaking. "About half a year ago, a caravan discovered the undead." 6 months ago, Suhaid nodded. 6 months ago, around the time transmigrators arrived. It is very likely that, just as he predicted, the undead are related to Fang Hao. Finding the location of the undead will be a great achievement for anyone who returns. If the undead are large enough to threaten the Federation and the Church, and he has solved the problem, he will be the next Archbishop. In just a moment, Suhaid had already thought of many things. He immediately pictured himself as an Archbishop, sitting in the highest seat in the Vatican. A smile involuntarily appeared on his face. "Are there many undead? Are there any special places, like quarrying or logging?" Suhaid continued to ask. Old Carey, covering his hat, continued on his way. The reply was, "Not many." "Logging? What would they do with the logs?" Build houses? Those things aren't afraid of the cold. Not much? That can't be. You want more? If there were more, things would have gotten chaotic long ago. These undead are easy to encounter in the surrounding area. Only you noble lords find them strange. We hunters encounter them all the time. There's no danger, and they won't attack the surrounding villages. They're much easier to deal with than bandits. Old Carrie continued. The others listened silently, but said nothing more. They weren't real nobles, and they had fought the undead head-on. Naturally, it is known that being tainted by darkness makes one susceptible to the appearance of spirits. But what they were looking for wasn't these wild, scattered spirits of the dead. Suhaid and the others remained silent, simply following behind Old Klee on their journey. With the old hunter leading the way, the journey was indeed much smoother. They only took the easy paths. They arrived at the gates of Bull-Headed Man Fortress. One by one, bull-headed men poked their heads out from the city wall. He stared wide-eyed at the few humans below. When they saw Old Carrie leading the way, the tightly closed doors slowly opened, and a group of tall, muscular, bull-headed men walked out. He was wearing plate armor and carrying a huge double-edged battle axe. What? It's you guys again. Do you want to die? The bull-headed man, who was in the lead, said in a deep voice, his nostrils flaring out white breath. Suhaid and the others' expressions immediately turned grim. Old Carrie then stepped forward, pulled the leading bull-headed man aside, and spoke to him in hushed tones. Bull-headed man kept glancing this way, seemingly trying to confirm something. Before long, the two returned. Old Carrie said, "Give me some money." Oh, Suhaid took out a few gold coins. Old Carrie took the money and handed it to the bull-headed man. Bull-headed man bounced around and said, "All right, they're not dangerous. Open the door and let them in." All the doors were opened. Old Cree led the group through the gate and into the Orcish territory. Suhaid and the others followed behind, stunned. That's it. Last time you guys were watching so closely, I thought something big was going on inside. Now you can just pay a few gold coins and get through it. You should have said so earlier if you wanted money. Along the way, I walked from morning until afternoon. We encountered nothing along the way, only a vast expanse of white snow. The group was exhausted, both physically and mentally, and suffering from hunger and cold. The snot froze into icicles and hung on the nose. At this point, no one thought it was a good job anymore, and everyone was hoping to go back as soon as possible. If it keeps freezing like this, people might really die. We're here. We're here. That's the area of undead over there. Old Cree shouted, pointing ahead. The group instantly perked up, quickened their pace, and looked in the direction Old Klee had pointed. In the distance, there was a ruin covered with rubble. The snow buried large areas of the traces, but it was still possible to tell that this place used to be a manor. For some unknown reason, the buildings at the old site were demolished. Even the wall is now reduced to a small, low section. Hundreds of skeletons roamed the ruins. The skeleton was covered in tattered armor, rotting like mop slats. The weapon in his hand was also rusty and looked harmless. The group counted them roughly. There are over 300 of them. That's all. Suhaid asked curiously. Old Carrie rubbed his nose. How many more do you want? Do you really think this is some kind of mass grave? There aren't that many skeletons here. The group remained silent, observing the spirits in the distance. Judging from the equipment these undead have and their wandering appearance, it's certain that they are a group of wild undead. Let alone posing a threat to the human federation, these skeletons might just be cleared away by a passing herd of beasts one day. Scattered undead. None of them are of high rank, and if there are few of them, they are unlikely to pose any threat. All right, we've seen it all, and there's really nothing much to see anyway. Let's go back. Old Carrie urged from the side, but the group remained silent, staring at the skeleton in front of them. Looking at it from left to right, the quantity is still not large, and there is nothing special about it. Hey, you guys. Old Carrie was still being ignored. Suhaid then pulled the rest of the group together and began to discuss things in hushed tones. After a while, Suhaid walked over alone, smiling, and said, "Mr. Carrie, you must be tired from your journey. This is just a small token of our appreciation. We plan to continue exploring here and won't be heading back yet." 2 more gold coins were placed into Old Carrie's hand. "Aren't you going back?" "No. If you get lost here, people will die," Old Carrie said hurriedly. "We brought a map, so there's no need to worry." "That won't do either. If something happens after I bring you in, I won't be able to explain it. You have to come out with me," Old Carrie said firmly. But the others didn't pay any attention to his request. Suhaid opened the Lord's book, exchanged for weapons and armor, and equipped himself with them. Soon, The group changed into Silverwing City armor and weapons. Suhade's tone hardened as he said, "Your mission is complete. You don't need to worry about the rest. And when you go back, you mustn't reveal our information." Looking at the men's expressions, Old Clean knew that nothing he said now would make a difference. He could only nod and agree. "Oh, okay. I understand. You can leave now." "Oh, okay." Old Carrie agreed, turning back every few steps as he left. After the figures walked away, Suhade and his friends reunited. Someone asked, "Which way do we go next?" "Let's find a safe place to spend the night first. Tomorrow we'll continue north along the road. I have a feeling this old man is leading us on a roundabout route," Suhade replied, glancing at the map. "Good." The group agreed and began looking for a safe place. Today's journey has been tiring enough. If they hadn't found a sheltered place at night, they could very well have frozen to death out there. On the other side, inside the Lord's mansion in Pearl City, Fang Hao sat on a chair to the side, chatting with City Lord Tavik about the day's events. The Silverwing City investigation team never left their sight once they arrived. They knew everything about his every move. Today's Old Carrie is also someone arranged by Tavik. They want to see the undead, right? Take them to see them and confirm that these are just ordinary undead, which will save them from having to investigate further. The two were chatting. Soldier's voice came from outside the door. "Lord City Lord, Carrie is back." Tavik was taken aback. "Let him in." Old Carrie entered the hall and hurriedly said, "Sir, the men you asked me to take today abandoned me and didn't come back. They planned to continue exploring on their own. When I saw them pull out swords out of thin air, I didn't dare to insist too much, so I came back to report to you." The room fell silent instantly upon hearing this. Tavik was just bragging to Fang how that everything was under control. Now the person is gone. Those guys are wandering around aimlessly. They might actually end up in Fang Hao City. When they see so many patrolling undead, they'll surely start a war. Just as Tavik was about to unleash a torrent of abuse, Fang Hao spoke up directly, asking, "Tell me about today's events in detail." "Oh well." Carrie recounted in detail what had happened while he was leading the team that day. "You mean they stayed near their assigned positions?" Fang Hao asked. "Yes, sir. They refused to leave no matter what I said. I saw that they had taken out swords and knives. I was afraid something would happen, so I had to rush back to inform you and the city lord." Fang Hao originally thought he would just make some arrangements and have these people look for it, and that would be it. After all, in this kind of weather, not many people have the willpower to stay and search for the dead. Surprisingly, these people are really taking it so seriously. They stayed and found out on their own. "Okay, you can go and rest now. I'll handle the rest." Fang Hao waved his hand. "Oh, okay." Carrie hurriedly left, afraid of being blamed for not doing things properly. "Is there anything else Tavik wants to ask?" Fang Hao said directly. "It's okay, I'll arrange it." After saying that, he released the teleportation light screen and left Pearl City, former site of Enfeng Fortress. In a low-lying cave on the west side, the orange-red campfire illuminated the small cave. Suhade and the others gathered around the fire, eating the food in their hands. Transmigrators' regional transactions have greatly reduced their burden. They can exchange food and supplies to ensure they can safely spend the night here and not freeze to death. "We'll take turns keeping watch and continue exploring northwards early tomorrow morning," Suhade said. The spirits of the dead are relevant to his future development. Moreover, he has been the one who has consistently insisted on the existence of undead north of Pearl. They kept trying to persuade the church that there were spirits of the dead in the north that would threaten the entire Federation. But when they actually came to investigate, all they saw was a camp of 300 undead. Hundreds of wild undead could be encountered not only here, but also around various cities. It cannot be considered his achievement at all. Even if he now has doubts about whether there are any spirits, he will continue searching. "All right, let's explore for another day. If we still don't find any clues, we'll head back to our next stop." Lysis, Hall of Justice, who was accompanying them, said this. Soldier said, "Good." The group nodded in agreement. One person kept watch, while the others crawled into the prepared blankets and began to rest. The night wind howled, like the roar of a wild beast. In their dazed state, they heard their companions shout, "There are enemies. Get up." Everyone was jolted awake and instantly grabbed their weapons. At the same time, crackle, outside the pitch-black cave, pebbles rained down on it. They were smashed so hard they ran around clutching their heads, letting out painful howls. "What the hell is going on?" Suhade cursed loudly. The soldier on night watch covered his head with his arm and said, "I don't know. Someone just suddenly started throwing stones in here." "Can you confirm the enemy's identity?" "I couldn't see clearly, but there were a lot of people, and they surrounded the area in front of the cave. The three people inside the cave were dazed and disoriented by the dense barrage of stones. Hearing the Night Watch soldier's reply, he felt somewhat annoyed. This trip has been so unlucky. I've encountered all sorts of problems wherever I go. What do we do? Fight our way out, one of them roared. Suhaid hid at the innermost part and glanced at the Lord's book. Let's find out who the enemy is and where they are. Suhaid took out a scroll from his pocket and opened it. On the scroll, a small bird formed from blue energy appears. Go outside. The little bird of blue energy, cave, flew out of cave. At the same time, Suhaid also received images from outside the cave in his mind. In the dense forest, covered in snow, each one was a small orc with animal ears. Hundreds of people gathered outside, throwing stones incessantly, while others pushed carts carrying loads of broken stones. Damn it, where did all these people come from? Suhaid cursed. The next second, the bird formed from energy shattered, and the scroll in his hand disappeared. What should we do? The person next to him asked. Suhaid thought for a moment and said, let's get ready to break out. We can't stay here any longer. He casually swapped the 3 shields back. Good. Listen to me. Get ready, charge. Several people, holding shields, charged out despite the rain of stones. The stones hit the shield with a loud cracking sound, which was quite frightening. Suhaid took the opportunity to glance outside. The little beast men followed closely behind. They kept picking up stones from the cart and throwing them at them. Moo. The investigation team had been on the run all night. Just when they thought they had shaken off the enemy, the sound of cattle bellowing came from the nearby woods. Several strong, bull-headed men rushed out with their heads down. Bang, bang, bang. It really hit them. His body flew backward, and he was thrown into a daze. Suhaid shook his slightly dizzy head. Seeing the bull-headed man striding towards him with his battle axe, he was already terrified. There were only a few of them to begin with, and they had no chance against the orcs here. They immediately shouted, "Don't attack! Don't! We're from Silverwing City. We gave you money before." But no matter how much he shouted, the bull-headed men did not stop for a moment. He came up to him and started punching him repeatedly. Orcs are in far better physical condition than humans, giving them an advantage. With each punch, several humans were covered in blood and knocked unconscious. Saint, Saint, calls echoed in my ears. Suhaid slightly opened his eyes and saw Temple Knight, who was accompanying him, looking at him with a face full of anxiety. Temple Knight was dressed in thin clothes, and several bruises on his face were very noticeable. Holy One, are you all right? Seeing Suhaid open his eyes, Temple Knight hurriedly asked, It's nothing. My face just feels a little numb. Why is it so cold? With help, Suhaid sat up. He touched his face and winced in pain. There's no need to look. You can tell the one who got beaten up was no less badly than Temple Knight in front of you. I don't know if it's because I'm physically strong or if bull-headed man didn't use his full strength. None of the 3 of them sustained serious injuries. At least he didn't lose any arms or legs. The surrounding environment resembled a dungeon, and their cotton armor had been stripped off. The cold air made them shiver all over, and their lips turned purple. What about those bull-headed men? What will they do to us? Upon regaining consciousness, Suhaid felt a sense of fear. The orcs here simply wouldn't listen to what they were saying. Even after mentioning Silverwing City and the church, the rude, bull-headed men still beat them up violently. At this point, he even wondered if those guys would just kill them outright. After all, even if these few of them died, Silverwing City might not necessarily start a war with the orcs directly. At most, negotiations will be conducted in the form of diplomacy. They've left. Does Your Excellency have any way to contact Silverwing City? We're not safe, Temple Knight said softly. Suhaid reached for his waist. The Lord's book was gone. He shook his head, indicating that he didn't have any good ideas either. Then we can only wait and hope that these orcs are not so barbaric as to kill people indiscriminately. Upon hearing this, Suhaid's face paled even further. At the same time, the sound of bull-headed men talking could be heard outside the door. Tell me, how do you make it taste good? Came the voice of a bull-headed man. Make soup? Simmer the meat until it's very tender, and the soup will also help to dispel cold. That's fine. Let's boil some water. I'm getting a little hungry. Immediately afterwards, the crackling sound of flames burning and the sound of water boiling could be heard outside the door. The 3 people inside the dungeon heard it all clearly. At this moment, he was so frightened that his face turned completely pale. Among the orcs, some races are cannibals, a fact known to everyone. Unexpectedly, this kind of thing actually happened to me. Suhaid's mind went completely blank. He came here to make a name for himself, not to be someone's food. My legs were trembling, and I regretted coming here to investigate this damn undead. Isn't it good to be a saint in your territory and show off your power? Time passed little by little. Fear grew rapidly, eroding the last vestiges of their willpower. Just then, footsteps came from outside the dungeon. The three people huddled in the corner immediately shuddered. No, don't eat us. I can give you ransom. You can buy more meat with the money. Suhaid jumped up like a spring. He said it all in one breath. The door opened, and a middle-aged human, accompanied by a bull-headed man, walked in. Suhaid and the others were slightly taken aback. He had met this man once before in Silverwing City. He was Tavik, the new lord of Pearl City. Lord Tavik, Suhaid said hurriedly. Tavik glanced at the three of them and said softly, "You know me?" Suhaid immediately said, "I am Suhaid, a saint of the Church of Light in Silverwing City. We met once before in Silverwing City." Tavik frowned even more deeply. With a curious look, he asked, "I received a message from the orcs that some humans have crossed the border. Are they talking about you?" Suhaid looked embarrassed and coughed lightly, saying, "Lord Tavik, could you please rescue us first? I will explain everything to you in detail when we get back." "Okay, just a moment." Tavik turned around and spoke privately with the bull-headed man behind him. Not long after, when they returned, they opened the iron door to the dungeon. "Let's go. Let's leave here first. We can talk about it when we get back." Soldier came over with their clothes, but all the valuables inside were gone. Suhaid and the others didn't care about any of that. Getting back was the most important thing. They returned to the city lord's mansion. In the warm hall, I sipped hot tea brought by a servant. Suhaid truthfully explained the reason for their visit. This means that, due to rumors of ghosts appearing in the north, the council was concerned and sent them to investigate. "Hey, you guys, you thought it was so easy to get into the orcs' territory? This is the bull-headed man we encountered. If it had been jackal folk or the demon orcs, you'd all be in the pot by now," Tavik said, slapping his thigh. Hearing this, the group felt a chill run down their spines. They wondered if they would be cooked, as food was scarce in winter. "Thank you, Lord Tavik, for rescuing us," Suhaid said again. Suhaid is genuinely grateful to Tavik. Without him, he probably wouldn't have been able to leave bull-headed man's territory. "It's nothing. We're from the same clan, and I can't just stand by and watch someone die. By the way, Lord Tavik, do you know anything about the undead? I'll have something to report when I get back." Suhaid picked up his hot tea, took a sip, and continued to ask. Tavik said, "I don't know who spread this news, saying that there are a large number of undead in the north. I even arranged for people to investigate, but they only found some scattered undead, numbering only a few hundred." Suhaid nodded. The hunter had only shown them about 300 skeletons. Tavik continued, "Besides, that's orc territory. If there are any undead, they'll be cleared out by the orcs, so we don't need to worry too much about this side." "Lord City Lord, you are right." Suhaid took another sip of hot tea. "Saint Suhaid, are you going to investigate again tomorrow? If you're going out, I will arrange some guards to accompany you. The orcs are very chaotic in winter. Stealing food and cannibalism are common occurrences. You can't go alone again." Suhaid thought about it and realized it was true. That night, it was again the dwarf orcs and the bull-headed man. They messed it up. Fortunately, they weren't cooked in the pot. "Okay, we'll let the city lord know if we need anything." Suhaid stood up. "It's getting late, so we won't disturb your rest any longer. Aren't you staying at the city lord's mansion? I'll have the servants prepare a few rooms for you all." "No, our companions are still waiting for us in tavern." "Okay, if anything happens, you need to let me know in advance. Don't wander off," Tavik instructed again. He looked as if he was afraid that you people would die on his territory and cause him trouble. "Oh, okay. Leave the city lord's mansion." The three of them then returned to Rose Tavern. In a room with candles lit, Suhaid, Bakel, and a few others sat around the table. "Saint Suhaid, what are your injuries?" Bakel asked. Upon entering the house, Bakel and his men didn't recognize them and almost drew their swords. Suhaid touched the wound on his face. "Sigh, we were out searching for traces of the dead, but we didn't expect to be captured by those bull-headed men, and that's how we ended up like this." Next, Suhaid recounted the discovery of the undead, the orcs driving him away, and his capture by the bull-headed man. "You mean there are only 300 or so undead?" Bakel asked. "Yes," Suhaid said as he applied the medicine to himself. "What about the rest of the area? Should we investigate it more thoroughly? I've talked to the hunter and the city lord. The chances of encountering undead are slim. Besides, the orc tribes are at war and looting food. If we go there, We might end up being cooked, Suhaid said immediately. Now he's hesitant to go. If he wants to investigate, he'll wait until winter is over. That's incredibly dangerous. Okay, that's fine. Bakel nodded. Suhaid continued. Did you find anything in the city? Bakel said, there's nothing wrong in the city, but in the city center, we saw a temple. A temple? There's no temple in Pearl either. It wasn't there before, but it is now. There's no statue inside, Bar said. That's newly built. We haven't had time to tell the church yet, Suhaid said nonchalantly. Bakel shook his head slightly. We found traces of a statue on the base, as if someone had removed it. Suhaid was taken aback. Goddess of abundance, perhaps. The human race's beliefs, besides God of light, are also based on goddess of abundance. The goddess of abundance is not as complicated as the god of light, and setting up a statue does not require informing the church. Therefore, in most places, there is a statue of goddess of abundance. Bakel did not deny it. So, will we still be checking for the dead tomorrow? I think we should leave it at that for now. Even if we investigate, we won't find anything, Suhaid said. All right, then let's set off tomorrow and head straight to Sis. Okay, then you should get some rest. Suhaid and the others got up and left the room. The next day, early morning, Fang Hao hasn't gotten up yet. From the first-floor hall came a series of loud shouts of "Ha!" Since it snowed outside. Maid's boxing training was then moved to the hall of Lord's Manor. The reason I chose this location, rather than just any warehouse, is here. It's because it's warm here. Many sun-patterned stone slabs were placed around the perimeter, radiating heat like a heater. Fang Hao walked downstairs. Then you see a group of young and energetic rabbit girls, dressed in form-fitting training clothes, following in Jia's punches and kicks. Actually, the scene was quite pleasing to the eye. Besides maids, Fang Hao also saw He training with the team. Her baby was handed over to a skeleton, who held and rocked him. Goodness, the whole nation is starting to practice martial arts. Fang Hao had just sat down when a private message notification came from Lord's book. It's Fule, boss. Lord Tavik has brought news that the Silverwing City investigation team has left Pearl City and headed to Sis City. Okay, I understand. They really left. I wasn't planning on leaving without giving them a good beating. Last night, Blackfoot Cat attacked, and Bull-Headed Man captured them. Fang Hao used the skeleton Ash Sparrow to get a clear view from the air. It's unclear what kind of willpower sustained Suhaid, making this saint willing to spend a freezing night in the wilderness just to investigate the skeleton. He arranged for the Bull-Headed Man to beat them up. He left the next day and had no intention of continuing to the Orc territory domain. As for the city of Sis, that's irrelevant. There was nothing about the undead over there, and the God of Light statue was put back in the temple. There were no flaws whatsoever. I've had breakfast. After Maids finished her morning exercise, she began her work. It seems to be because the food quality has improved. Fang Hao suddenly noticed that Maid's figure was starting to become a bit fuller. The maid in front of her was wiping the antique shelf next to her, and the drape of the shelf had increased significantly compared to before. Bite! The Lord's book rang out again. He looked away from the maid and opened the Lord's book. It was a private message from Su Yang. Boss, that guy messaged me saying that Otis Great Necropolis is indeed stockpiling troops, and that the transmigrators in the region have all been taken over by Otis, who are making weapons and equipment for them. Are they being controlled? Otis is quite clever. He knows how to utilize these transmigrators, instead of driving them away or eating them like trolls and orcs. Did you get the map? Fang Hao asked. He only gave me a map of the area around his territory, which isn't complete. I'm trying to persuade him to find a way to get more maps. Su Yang said, Do you know the number of troops? And what is his purpose in stockpiling so many troops and manufacturing equipment? Fang Hao asked a series of questions. A brief silence fell on the other end. It's also possible that they are maintaining contact with that person. After a while, a reply came in. He said that his forces had reached 50,000 to 60,000, but the situation in other areas was unclear, as was their purpose. Their job was to produce equipment for the skeleton soldiers every day, and they also sent over pictures. Fang Hao clicked on the picture, and it showed a large area of skeleton soldiers. The skeletons were arranged in neat rows, and if it weren't for their different equipment and the flags of their respective territories, Fang Hao would have thought they were photos of his own troop type. There is one more difference. The skeletons varied in height, but their skeletal structures revealed them to be troop types transformed from humans. It seems that the claim that Bone Tax is 30 years old might actually be true. Okay, give him some benefits so he can gather more information for me. Fang Hao sent a message. Understood, boss. After hanging up the private message, Fang Hao began to think about Necropolis. Who exactly is Otis targeting? Humans? Or the Huiwe Highlands? As Fang Hao pondered, he thought of Su-Haid again. Su-Haid's eagerness to find evidence of the dead is simply to increase his own leverage. Instead, let him focus his attention on the north side of Prol. I'd rather give him a merit award. We're all transmigrators. Shouldn't we help each other out? Moreover, as long as the church notices that Otis Great Necropolis is stockpiling troops, coupled with their recent sensitivity to the undead, it will be a significant factor. As soon as this news reaches the ears of the church, no matter who they attack, it must mean they believe they are attacking humans. At that time, attacking Necropolis will be much easier. It works. Fang Hao slapped his thigh, released the teleportation light screen to go directly to Blood Fortress. 5 days later, a carriage, escorted by a soldier, departed Silverwing City. It was slowly moving forward. Su-Haid sat in the carriage, his face somewhat pale. Yesterday, he and Bakel and others returned to Silverwing City. Early this morning, he went to the church and told all the information he had obtained to the church's leadership, but they brought back no useful information. The photos that were taken only showed scattered skeletons and undead, and they were still in the orc territory. Afterwards, the group headed to the city of Lysis. Similarly, the temple still houses the god of light statue, and no clues have been found regarding the loss of faith. This disappointed the church leadership. The archbishop, who had always trusted him greatly, did not speak up for him this time either. All around were voices of rebuke. He was accused of wasting the church's energy and resources on trivial matters. Even Su-Haid knew in his heart that there must be undead in Fang Hao's territory. But I just can't find any evidence and can't prove anything. Leave the church. The dazzling sunlight made him feel somewhat dazzled. An unprecedented sense of loss made his head feel unusually heavy. Sigh, could it be that I'm really not the protagonist? That shouldn't be the case. His circumstances, the resources and status he has received are definitely those of a protagonist. Why is it so difficult to get through this? This time, I have lost faith in the church, and my standing in the archbishop's eyes will probably drop considerably, making me ineligible to become the next archbishop. The more Su-Haid thought about it, the more disappointed he felt. All previous efforts were wasted after this failure. As Su-Haid thought to himself, the carriage had already returned to the city. Holy One, Chao Jingji's men are waiting at the door. The voice of the attendant outside the carriage brought Su-Haid back to his senses. Pulling back the curtain, one could see a group of people gathered at the city gate. The person leading the way, waving in this direction, was from Transmigrators. Chao Jingji, open the city gates and let them all go in. Yes, sir. The city gates opened, and 2 teams entered the city one after the other. Enter Lord's Manor. The maid began to remove Su-Haid's snow-covered cloak. Chao Jingji waited silently to the side. It was clear that Su-Haid looked very unwell. Something must have happened. In the past, he would have made an excuse to leave in this situation to avoid being scolded by the other person. But then he thought of the task Li Rong had given him. As a double agent, all I could do was grit my teeth and wait. Su-Haid changed into loose-fitting clothes and sat down by the fireplace. After sighing, he asked, "What is it? Tell me." Chao Jingji leaned forward and said, "Lord Su-Haid, I made a deal with the Transmigrators yesterday. During our conversation, I obtained some information that I felt would be helpful to your future, so I came here specifically to tell you about it." I heard the word future. Su-Haid's forehead veins throbbed. His future was just ruined this morning. After this incident, the other believers will likely rise above him, and the church's resources will be reduced for him. Speak. Su-Haid's tone was somewhat unpleasant. Chao Jingji immediately said, "The Transmigrators are in the territory of the Undead King. He told me that the Undead King captured all the Transmigrators and is mass-producing equipment for the Undead." Su-Haid frowned slightly. I feel there's some information in those words, but I can't quite put my finger on it. What does it matter? It's not surprising that Transmigrators are being controlled. If it weren't for the fact that the human faction was managed by the Hall of Justice, Transmigrators here will receive the same treatment. This is nothing unusual, and he wouldn't save these people, nor does he have the ability to do so. Chao Jingji hurriedly explained. No, he told me that the undead are stockpiling troops in large numbers, and the bone tax of the living beings below has been collected up to age 30. They are also producing a large amount of weapons and equipment. He guessed that they are going to attack the 100 Cities Federation. Thud. Su-Haid, who was lying down, fell off the chair. The young maid immediately went to help him up, but he pushed her away. Looking directly at Chao Jingji, he said, "Are you sure? The undead are going to attack the human federation. Well, that's what he said. He even sent me several photos, all of them densely packed skeletons. They were terrifying. Chao Jingji took out the city lord's book and showed the photos inside to Suhaid. Suhaid flipped through them one by one. His expression changed from serious to surprise. He murmured, "The target is wrong. The target is wrong." Huh? What's wrong? Chao Jingji asked curiously. So the undead army coming from the channel is actually the necropolis soldier. They must be plotting something, Suhaid said with delight. He set his sights on Fang Hao, which was a mistake from the start. Even if Fang Hao is incredibly powerful, considering the time it took for the transmigrators to arrive, he wouldn't possess such a large force. Therefore, he went astray from the very beginning. If the undead army were placed on the Otis Great Necropolis, the origin of the undead would be fully explained. Moreover, this was also key to him regaining the trust of the archbishop and the bishops. Regardless of whether Otis poses a threat to the federal government, it must be a threat. Suhaid's face grew increasingly joyful. Lord Suhaid, what is this? Chao Jingji asked, puzzled. Why are you laughing like that at a picture of a skull? Suhaid, regaining his composure, said, well done. This is very important. Repeat what that person told you to me. Okay, sure. Chao Jingji began to recite what Li Rong had given him. The content is exactly the same as what Su Yang said. After hearing this, Suhaid felt even better. Send me the picture, quick. Oh well. Chao Jingji sent over the picture, and Suhaid received it and immediately got into his carriage and left. Head back to Silverwing City. Church Hall. In a beautifully decorated room, Archbishop Milton was sitting at the table, enjoying the lunch that had just been served. Meanwhile, Suhaid stood respectfully to the side, waiting silently. Your performance today has been very disappointing, Milton said softly. Suhaid lowered his head even further and said in a trembling voice, I have disappointed you, Your Excellency the Archbishop. Yes, this time, the bishops have a lot of opinions about you. If you don't do anything further, you may become a marginal figure among the saints, and the resources and rights that the church provides for you will be reduced. Your Excellency, I will work even harder and will not let you down again, Suhaid promised loudly. Yes, sit down. Learn from this experience. In the future, don't rush to show off if you're not confident, even if it's for the church's benefit. Milton cut a piece of beef and put it in his mouth. Suhaid bowed and thanked him, then sat down to the side. At the same time, a servant came forward and brought a new plate of lunch, placing it in front of Suhaid. Besides apologizing, is there anything else you want to say this time? Milton asked. Suhaid thought for a moment and then took out the Lord's book. Find those photos. Your Excellency, please take a look at these. The Archbishop knew a little about transmigrators, but not much. Looking at the photo, one sees a dense array of dead souls. His expression changed slightly. Didn't you say you didn't find a large number of undead? Suhaid immediately explained. These are not pictures of the north side of Prul, but of the Otis Great Necropolis. Upon hearing Otis Great Necropolis, Milton glanced at the attendant beside him. With a slight wave of his hand, the attendant bowed and withdrew. Milton asked, any news from over there? Suhaid didn't hold back either, recounting everything he had heard from Chao Jingji in its entirety. However, the plot has changed somewhat. The information he obtained during the transaction was used to cultivate an informant for him. When Suhaid spoke of the large-scale troop buildup and how all the transmigrators were mobilized to manufacture equipment, Milton naturally made some connections to the topic. For no apparent reason, who would start increasing their troop strength? Otis must have some new plan. What about your eyeliner? Suhaid thought for a moment and carefully replied. He said that it is very likely that they will send troops to the 100 Cities Federation. Thud. Milton dropped the silver fork from his hand. His brow furrowed deeply. Is what he said reliable? He couldn't be 100% sure, but he heard that more undead forces had begun to gather at the border of the 100 cities. Milton put down his knife and fork. He couldn't eat anymore. He stood up and said, Come with me to the Hall of Justice, and tell Doherty what you have to say. Yes, Your Excellency. Milton walked quickly outside, with Suhaid following closely behind. The carriage began its journey towards the Hall of Justice. Meanwhile, in the afternoon, one carriage after another stopped in front of the Hall of Justice. The bigwigs from various factions were invited to discuss important matters. Meanwhile, the border city to the east of the 100 Cities Federation also received a message from Silverwing City. Strengthen troop presence along the border. Meanwhile, scout out whether there has been any reinforcement of troops in Otis Great Necropolis. On the other side, Huiwa Highlands, Blood Fortress. Fang Hao watched as the hardwood lifting equipment carried the cannons up city wall. 5-barreled organ cannons, dwarf cannons, and anti-aircraft crossbows were among the large quantities of equipment manufactured by Fang Hao. Begin setting up Huiwa Highlands. Although it seems unlikely that Otis will attack Huiwa Highlands, preparations should still be made. Huiwa Highlands is a buffer zone. Once this place falls, the next city to face danger will be Prul and their own main city. He couldn't let Otis attack his doorstep directly. The best way was to keep them out. Similarly, it's also a preparation for their own attack on Otis. The heavy equipment was hoisted up, and rows of skeletons struggled to pull the ropes. The entire area was bustling with activity. In Blood Fortress, awakened by the noise from the outside world, Lorana walked out with bloodshot eyes and an icy expression. I was about to yell at Fang Hao for disturbing her rest. Before he could finish speaking, he was stunned by the bustling scene before him. What's going on? Where did you get so much equipment? Are those 5-pipe ones cannons too? Lorana's initial urgency was replaced by questions. Fang Hao glanced at her and said, I made it. You know we can make things and equipment. Lorana glared at her. I mean, where did you get the blueprint? Oh, didn't we conquer Boffing Mountain? We obtained the blueprint from the dwarves. Otis's whereabouts are currently unknown, so I'm setting up some here to ensure your safety. Fang Hao replied. Lorana had heard about Fang Hao's attack on Boffing Mountain from Amanda, but it was just a casual chat at the time, and no mention was made of any spoils gained. Moreover, the spoils of the transmigrators, unless used, are kept in the Lord's book and remain unseen. Now that I hear what Fang Hao said, then it dawned on me that the equipment was developed by those dwarfs. You're being so kind now, worried about my safety? Lorana stood beside him, her gaze also fixed on the bustling city walls. We're family. Of course I'm worried about the safety of my own family, Fang Hao said without any embarrassment. Lorana opened her mouth, but then closed it again. Lonely Night's beauty. Lorana and Tobias's loyalty to you has increased by 5 points. Current loyalty is 72. It rose by 5 points. Raising Lorana's loyalty has always been difficult. Previously, gifting Bone Dragon and a separate mansion also resulted in increases of 1 or 2 points. These 5 points represent a significant improvement. I even feel that Rebecca always speaks well of herself because of this. Seeing that he was being helpful, Fang Hao continued. It's been hard on you, staying here in Blood Fortress all by yourself. Once things settle down on Otis's side, you can come and stay with me. It'll be more lively if we all stay together. Lorana crossed her arms and remained silent. Fang Hao continued. Skeleton Tailor has recently produced some new styles of clothing that suit your style perfectly. I'll have someone send you some later. Lorana remained silent. Xianming Tower has released new cosmetics. Have someone send them to you. Holy crap. Fang Hao's face was full of embarrassment as he spoke. I'm acting like a simp. This woman is really something. Lonely Night's beauty. Lorana and Tobias's loyalty to you has increased by 3 points. Current loyalty is 75. It really works. Lorana's face remained expressionless as she looked at Fang Hao with a puzzled expression. What's wrong with you today? Still pretending with me. Your loyalty has increased. It's true that persistence works on women. It's nothing. I just wanted to see what you needed so I could bring it over to you. Fang Hao replied. I understand. I'll think of what you need and let you know. Okay, fine. The crane in the distance was still making the sound of its gears straining. Fang Hao continued. Where's Amanda? I haven't seen her. Didn't she sleep with you? Lorana's anger, which had just dissipated, instantly rose again. After repeatedly testing the limits of Lorana's rampage for a while, it was found that loyalty had reached its current standard. Even though their tone of voice remained cold, they didn't shout for violence. When Fang Hao jokes with her, she'll respond with a couple of words, but her tone lacks interest and sounds perfunctory. Lorana's life wasn't exactly blessed either. She fell in love with a human city lord and was blinded by love. Finally, it was dismembered and buried separately. That's why the people in the territory were afraid of her. What impressed me most was the scene when she was resurrected and went berserk outside her territory. At that moment, she went completely mad. The ground was smashed into a deep pit, and the silver coffin that trapped her was crushed into a silver lump. The scene was extremely frightening. Therefore, Lorana is very averse to men. Even though he is her savior, his loyalty level is increasing so slowly. If it were anyone else, and they tried to make a joke at her, they'd twist their head off. Amanda isn't at Blood Fortress. She's probably out scouting the terrain with a group. Blood Hunter has been going out with Amanda these past few days, Lorana said softly. Yes, If we go to war with Otis directly, the 100 Cities Federation might take the opportunity to target us. So we need to let Otis and the Federation start fighting first, and then we can raid their base. All right, you're an expert at these kinds of schemes and tricks, Lorana said. What are you saying? Lorana turned her head away, looking like she wasn't going to explain. At this moment, Lord's Book received a private message notification. It was a message from Li Rong. Fang Hao, Chao Jingji has already informed Su Haid, and Su Haid then went to the church. Having Chao Jingji leak the information to Su Haid was part of their plan. The most chaotic way for transmigrators to obtain messages is through regional channels. Su Haid is also highly likely not to doubt the reliability of the information. Is the church making any moves? Fang Hao continued to ask. Li Rong replied. 10 minutes ago, the Archbishop's carriage went to the Hall of Justice, most likely because of this matter. We'll need to find out the specifics later. Li Rong is the owner who rose to prominence after Silverwing City. He also got to know some wealthy ladies in the city. Occasionally, I would receive invitations to attend banquets or balls for nobles. Given some time and the opportunity to gather information, it's not actually that difficult. In fact, judging from Su Haid's course of action, the church went to the Hall of Justice for the sake of Otis' great necropolis. There's basically no need to double-check it. As long as Silverwing City takes this matter seriously and begins to investigate and probe Otis' great necropolis, that would be a good thing for Fang Hao. North of Pearl, Silverwing City will no longer receive as much attention. We don't need to continue controlling our own side. After conveying the church's message, Li Rong brought up the second matter. Li Rong said, in Silverwing City, I have access to learn magic. How do you feel about it? Is there potential for advancement? Mage Association? You know, I have a client who is with the Mage Association, and I plan to join the association and become a mage. The mage is currently in the Transmigrators faction. There really aren't many people who switch jobs. Most people choose constitution-enhancing potions, since a strong body is essential for living longer before learning magical techniques. It's actually a good thing that Li Rong now has the opportunity to join the Mage Association. Not only can they learn magic, but they can also plant their own people in the Mage Association. Of course you can. This is also your chance. From now on, you will be a noble magician, Fang Hao said jokingly. Would you be interested in conquering a noble magician? I have a magic inspiration potion here. Here you go. See if you can use it. I need it. I was just worried about not having a way to buy it. Fang Hao smiled and listed magic inspiration potion on the designated trading platform. Li Rong completed the transaction immediately and sent a kiss. In the conversation with Li Rong, when Fang Hao looked up again, he found that Lorana had already left. After looking around, I saw a group of skeletons on City Wall gesturing at each other. It seems she wasn't as indifferent to the Blood Fortress as one might have imagined. Fang Hao is also fine. I opened the regional channel again, just like usual, to peek at what everyone was talking about. They're afraid of missing out on any trending topics or being out of sync with the thinking of transmigrators. I'm buying 500 pieces of terracotta tile. Some of the price is private message. Vendors don't need to come. Selling blueprint one-handed knife. Price in private message. Highest bidder wins. Green one-handed sword. Now we've changed to a cute girl's erotic picture. Fang Hao blocked the ads. Have you heard? The war with the dwarfs is over. What? Those dwarfs are bullying people again. No. I heard they were attacked by the undead, and they were attacked very badly. Even the king died. That's a lie. I have accurate information. My friend was just released by the dwarves. He said that the ones who rescued him were transmigrators, really powerful transmigrators. But he won't say who they are. Bullshit. Transmigrators can take down a faction. They can wipe out a bandit camp. That's god level. That's right. With the transmigrators' current development, they can at most compete with a small city. It's probably unlikely that they can conquer an entire force. I can attest that I am a friend of the rumor monger. I was rescued by transmigrators, and I was a beautiful woman who came in an F-22. Holy crap, I believed it because I didn't see an F-22. Do you think it's possible that he's one of Master Fang Hao's people? His troop type is undead, and he's so powerful. Impossible. We've only been here for a few months. Unless we have ballistic missiles, even an F-22 couldn't take down an entire area of the dwarves. Master Fang Hao might be that powerful. He might even be able to conquer the dwarves. That's really impossible. When you said the dwarves started a war, Master Fang Hao was in Silverwing City. I was grilling skewers for him. It's impossible for him to be at war with the dwarves. Fuck barbecue skewers, I'm speechless. Fang Hao found the conversation somewhat amusing. The transmigrators rescued from Grey Iron City were returned to their respective territories. However, they were also instructed not to leak any information about this place. If you don't know your own location, the channel is a lawless zone. But since they knew each other inside and out, they all became good citizens who kept their mouths shut and were kind-hearted. No one in the channel knew that it was Dong Jieyue who captured Grey Iron City, not even the 100 Cities Federation. After reading for a while, I closed the Lord's book. He stayed at Blood Fortress until dusk, and then exchanged a few more words with Lorana. Only after releasing the teleportation light screen can you return to the main city. Night. Return to the main city. After dinner, Fang Hao soaked in the hot spring, lying on his back on the edge of the pool. Nothing is more relaxing and pleasant than soaking in a hot spring before bed after a long day. If there is one, it's when you're soaking in a hot spring, surrounded by a group of rabbit maids. Besides Air and Xiaobai, there's also Rebecca, whom we picked up in the evening. For this mature older sister, Fang Hao still cares about it quite a bit. Moreover, Rebecca is becoming increasingly clingy. She misses Fang Hao terribly after not seeing him for a few days. Regarding the appearance of Rebecca, Air and Xiaobai stared wide-eyed, looking him and Rebecca up and down. It's obvious what their relationship is without even thinking about it. And Jia, who already knew about their relationship, went out to play and hasn't returned yet. Rebecca knew that Fang Hao had a woman by his side. Moreover, the purpose of the young and beautiful maids around nobles was not a secret among them. If Fang Hao didn't touch a rabbit girl fox woman, then it would be suspicious that there's something wrong. She didn't seem to care much about Fang Hao and his other women. But it was our first meeting, especially in this kind of setting. I'm still not quite used to it. Her face remained cold, and she wore a blue robe that revealed her fair, lotus-like arms and beautiful legs. 3 women gathered together. However, it gives people 3 different feelings. Air is the gentle, wifely type. Xiaobai is youthful and energetic, and Rebecca is a cold and aloof queen. I saw her standing by the pool with a wandering gaze. Fang Hao stood up, reached out his hand, and said, "Hold my hand." Rebecca placed her hand in his palm and was led little by little down from Rejuvenation Spring. Fang Hao smiled and introduced, "This is Rebecca, the city lord of Li Sis." Then he said to Rebecca, "These are Air and Xiaobai. From now on, we're all family." The family spoke out. Rebecca's face turned even redder. He was secretly annoyed. If he had known this would happen, he would have let Fang Hao stay at his place. That way, we can avoid such an awkward situation. But she had been in the federal circle for so long that she knew how to keep herself calm when things happened. At least outward appearances shouldn't reveal anything. After listening to Fang Hao's introduction, he nodded slightly, as if he already knew all this, and said, "Hello, Air Xiaobai." The 2 nodded in response. "Hello, Rebecca." Air and Xiaobai are both very young. Air is slightly larger, but still less than 20, and Xiaobai is even smaller. Even combined, they're not as big as Rebecca. Rebecca smiled and nodded, then sat down to the side. Fang Hao smiled and said, "This is Rejuvenation Spring, which is not only good for the body, but also has a great effect on the skin." "Oh," Rebecca replied softly, just when the atmosphere became a little awkward. Tap, tap, tap. Footsteps came from the front yard. Soon, the back door was pushed open with a bang, and Jia ran in with Loli. Before even seeing who it was, it leaped high into the air. With a splash, he jumped into the pool. Behind her, Loli, holding a red parrot, also leaped high. It stirred up 2 splashes of water. Only after the mist settled could Jia see the number of people around him. "There's one more." "Oh, Rebecca," Jia said. "Jia, Loli." "Oh," Jia responded, then said to Air and the other 2, "This is Rebecca. I'm telling you, she's really good at Gamoku. Loli and I both lose more often than we win." "Yes, Lord. It's hard to beat her either," Loli chimed in. Now Air and Xiaobai realized that the city lord's wife that Jia mentioned when she came back is the person right in front of them. "I heard she's a very capable woman who manages an entire city all by herself. I can teach you. The technique is actually quite simple," Rebecca said with a smile. With the addition of Jia and Loli, the atmosphere around the hot spring pool has calmed down considerably. The women gradually found some topics to talk about and started chatting. Seeing that the girls were having a good time chatting, Fang Hao wasn't in a hurry to leave. He opened his mouth, took a sip of the fruit wine Xiaobai handed him, opened Lord's book, and continued to spy on the screen. Within the regional channel, "When will winter end? I'm too scared to even take my pee out now. This is terrifying. The price of wood has surpassed that of iron ore. Once the heavy snow is over, I'm going to go out and chop down trees and make a fortune off you rich bastards. You idiot, the heavy snow has passed, and the price of wood has come down. Do you need to tell me that? Friendly reminder. The price of the iron axe pickaxe sold by Master Fang Hao has not changed. You can buy these tools with wooden handles. The wood can be used to start a fire, and the remaining iron is still a resource. It is more cost-effective than buying wood directly. Damn it. If you say that out loud and Master Fang Hao sees it, what will happen if the price goes up? Damn it. The hot pot base that the big boss is selling is so popular, it's impossible to get any. This kind of weather is really perfect for hot pot. Another day of envying the lives of the big shots. Have you heard? Master Fang Hao's affiliated cities all have glass walls, and they also receive various kinds of cold weather supplies. You're kidding me. None of the native cities next to my territory have glass. Even if Master Fang Hao is amazing, he still has his own glass, right? And those subordinate cities have it too. Exactly. Fang Hao has been deified now. He has everything. Don't you believe me? I'll show you the photos my friend sent me now. Image. Holy crap, it really is glass. Holy crap, that's only a few cases. It's impossible for everyone to have it. Don't disbelieve me. My friend said that joining Master Fang Hao's faction comes with great benefits. Not only do you get glass, but you also get all sorts of supplies, and even cannons. Damn, are we in the same world? We all use cold weapons, so where did this cannon come from? While you're still whining, I've already privately messaged Master Fang Hao, requesting to join the affiliated city. At Zhou Mingyan, alliance leader, look at other alliances, look at what you sent us. Hey, don't tag me. The channel was still filled with laughter and chatter. Although everyone was complaining about the cold winter, they were afraid to even take their bladders out. However, on the other hand, winter does reduce the occurrence of special accidents. Wild beasts and natives are hibernating, and the transmigrators' territories are generally more peaceful. Even those bandits who came down from the mountains to plunder, as long as they don't actively open the city gates. Given the current level of transmigrator cities, the bandits simply cannot breach the city wall. Fang Hao was reading Lord's book while occasionally taking food that Xiao Bai offered to him. After soaking for a while, the women chatted and became happier. On the contrary, Fang Hao spent too much time soaking in the water. Later, they discovered that the conversations among the women gradually began to revolve around themselves. I felt the conversation was going in the wrong direction and affecting my reputation. He got up and led the girls upstairs to rest. Time flies, and 2 months have passed in the blink of an eye. People were still wearing cotton-padded clothes, but the weather was no longer as cold as in winter. The snow that had accumulated earlier began to melt gradually, and the withered yellow branches gradually revealed a hint of green. Spring has finally arrived. During these 2 months, Silverwing City, as expected, stopped paying attention to the undead north of Pearl City. Even Suhaid stopped causing trouble for Li Rong. Everything is developing steadily. Fang Hao side. The human cities remained unchanged, and the various positions established by the city lord's mansion gave more people a chance to survive. The Orc territory, bordering Tasco Orc City, is a place where tribal wars constantly rage. The various tribes plundered each other's food and supplies. Small tribes became targets and prey of powerful tribes, and their fates were all tragic. Copper Bull reinforced its borders against tribal leaders who attempted to challenge it. Their heads were strung together and hung on the border. This serves as a reminder to the other orcs that they should think things through carefully before making any decisions, given their limited intelligence. The trolls haven't changed much. Their numbers were already small, and Fang Hao's side is providing enough food for the winter, so they won't cause any trouble. Balurga, the dwarf of Grey Iron City, has officially become the new leader, sitting on the throne he has always dreamed of. He began to officially take charge of everything at Boffing Mountain. Winter is like pressing the pause button on everyone. All disputes have been suspended, allowing people to spend this winter in peace. Inside the city walls, hordes of skeletons, like endless boned snakes, began clearing the snow from the city. Maids, led by Air and Xiao Bai, began to rearrange the flower beds. They gathered together to discuss what types of flowers to plant this year. Or, should we create a pattern to make this place look better? Even Morse, the shadow assassin who had barely left his room all winter, stepped out. I started discussing it with a group of maids. As one of the elves, Morse has a deep understanding of flowers, plants, and trees, and has suggested some beautiful, easy-to-grow, and fragrant flowers. It was quickly adopted by rabbit girls, who went to the Merchant Alliance to find the skeleton merchant. Dujin told him to buy seeds. A group of rabbit girls, armed with hoes and shovels, stormed into a Merchant Alliance store, which was quite an impact. At City Wall, Fang Hao, Dimitrika, Asidi, and others have all appeared on City Wall, leading a group of skeleton dwarf engineers. They began replacing and repairing the equipment on the wall. I've never used it even once, and after several heavy snowfalls, it's developed some problems. Lord, all the equipment on the city wall has been inspected. The damaged equipment has been sent back to the warehouse for the skeleton engineers to repair. Dimitrika returned. Okay, arrange the patrols around the territory. Fang Hao nodded and said, Understood, sir. Dimitrika and Asidi nodded in unison. Fang Hao and the two heroes discussed patrol arrangements. When they wanted to leave the city to continue checking on the situation at Hidden Arms Cave, a long-lost voice suddenly rang in my ears. World Channel is now open. Territory rankings, wealth rankings, troop strength rankings, and world trade function are now available. Fang Hao reacted for a moment and immediately stopped in his tracks. He gave a brief explanation to the two heroes. He then sat down on a stone chair nearby. Picking up the Lord's book, I immediately opened it and saw that, sure enough, after the regional channel, there was a world channel. Fang Hao opened the world channel, and messages began to flood the screen at lightning speed. Holy crap, there's a world channel too? Are you Earthlings too? Or transmigrators from another planet? Hello, brothers and sisters from other regions. My name is James Norman. No way. With such a brutal competition, so many people actually survived. The speed at which this is being posted is incredible. Selling female mermaid, slippery and slimy. Private message if interested. Look, in the top right corner of the world channel, you can check the leaderboard and see if the top players from your region are on the list. Damn, even with all my skill, I didn't make the list? Yeah, I'm pretty strong too, and I'm even the leader of the alliance, but I didn't make the list. Is this list fake? Or is the calculation method wrong? We only count the top 100. There are too many people teleported from all over the world. There are people more capable than you. Is there a problem? That's right. Isn't it because you're not strong enough, little brother? I'm only ranked 100th. The person on the territory ranking list is actually named Fang Hao. Judging from the name, he should be Chinese. He's quite impressive. Holy crap, he's number 1 on both the wealth ranking and the military strength ranking. Who exactly is he to have won so many first places? No, there's something wrong with this ranking system. Look at its troop strength ranking statistics. Those troop numbers are simply unscientific. I suspect he's exploiting a bug in some way. Oh God, their numbers are longer than my social security number. Information within the world channel is flowing at breakneck speed. Most people chat individually because by the time you're typing, the message you want to reply to has already been bumped to the top and disappeared. But everyone also shared a strange, unspoken understanding. They always manage to connect the topic. It feels like they're replying to the person above you. In the world channel, everyone speaks in different languages, such as Chinese, English, or languages from all over the world. But when it's sent out, what you see is all translated. I'm not afraid of not understanding it. This ensured normal communication within the world channel. Fang Hao watched the world channel, and everyone started talking about him. Ranked first. Could it be that I'm ranked number 1? I was quite curious, so I looked for the ranking option in the upper right corner. 3 leaderboards have been launched: Territory Leaderboard, Wealth Leaderboard, and Military Strength Leaderboard. He won first place in all of them. The territory ranking list is calculated based on the area of territory that has been developed. The specific method used for estimation is unclear. Fang Hao's territory value is over 117,000, while the second place has over 13,000. The difference is still quite significant. The second is the wealth ranking, which is based on the resources stored in the warehouse within the territory, as well as the amount of funds available. His wealth is estimated at 200 million Warfire coins, while the second-ranked person is only estimated at 7 million Warfire coins. This is actually very advantageous to Fang Hao. After all, he was a businessman, and the warehouse he built occupied 1/5 of the city's area. The warehouse contains all the equipment and supplies he sells. If you include them all, the estimate is actually less than 200 million. The third is the troop strength ranking, which provides detailed evaluation values. The first order troop type has 1 point of integration, the second order has 2 points, and so on, followed by the hero's numerical evaluation. Myth troop type, 100 points. Green heroes receive 1,000 points, and each additional 100 points are awarded for each tier they advance. Blue heroes start with 10,000 points and gain an additional 500 points for each tier they advance. Purple hero, 50,000 points. Orange hero, 100,000 points. Dark gold hero, 300,000 points. This surprised everyone in the World Channel. Troop strength assessments are presented in lowercase numbers. Fang Hao's troop strength is over 30 million. The leaderboard is a small area in the upper right corner of the World Channel. The length of those numbers stretched across 4 rows. It was simply outrageous. At the same time, Fang Hao paid particular attention to Tier 10. There's also a mythical troop type above troop type. The troop type myth provides a score of 100 points. Fang Hao himself felt that the ranking numbers were somewhat exaggerated. If calculated in this way, it's not surprising that he came in first in all 3 categories. 2 of them are based on quantity to determine the value, which perfectly matches his hundredfold amplification. If he doesn't get first place, that would be truly embarrassing. As for the territories area, he leveled Bafing Mountain, Bloody Mountains, Coldwind Mountains, and Huiwa Highlands. The land area of these few forces alone is enough to put him in first place, unless someone also possesses some special ability, and one that is even more extraordinary than his. Otherwise, it would be impossible to surpass him. However, being number 1 on all 3 lists didn't make Fang Hao very happy. The emergence of the World Channel also means that they are no longer limited to specific regions. Top transmigrators from all regions will gather on one stage. His high-profile appearance in everyone's sight is actually not a good thing. It could even affect his future development. Moreover, he managed to divert Silverwing City's attention to Otis' Great Necropolis by using Suhaid. Hopefully, this ranking list will catch Suhaid's attention again. They continue to cause trouble for themselves. Otherwise, he would have really arranged for someone to kill this saint beforehand. Let's refocus our attention on Lord's book. The regional channel where Fang Hao was located was also in an uproar. Did you guys see that? The World Channel is all asking who Fang Hao is. It's like the screen is being flooded with it. I saw it. Master Fang Hao is number 1 on all 3 lists. He's absolutely amazing. They believe there's something wrong with how the rankings are calculated, saying that the top performers must have exploited some kind of bug to get those numbers. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to have such outrageous numbers. What do they know? Master Fang Hao is beyond the comprehension of those little trash. Exactly. Master Fang Hao is too strong. He was number 1 in the region when the regional channel was open, and he became number 1 in the world when the World Channel was opened. When will the Cosmic Channel be opened? You mean fighting aliens? No. On this planet, we are the aliens. Oh my god. I'm going to grab a local girl and study her body structure. Brothers, there's a little devil cursing Master Fang Hao in the channel. If you're free, come with me and curse him out. What's it called? Post it, I'm bored. Tenmanji Haru. This is the link. Don't curse the wrong one. Receive, 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 receive. People who are on the same wavelength as Fang Hao know that Fang Hao is very talented, but they only knew that these people were better than themselves, without any standard to measure just how much better they were. The World Channel is now open. With all the data presented, the people on the regional channel finally understood just how terrifying Fang Hao was. They directly reached the top spot in the world. It surpasses all transmigrators from all countries and is unmatched. Some people feel proud to be from the same area as Fang Hao. After all, we are all together and from the same country, so naturally we feel a sense of belonging. Some people who secretly wanted to compete with Fang Hao also gave up on that idea at this time. He was even secretly relieved that he hadn't gotten so arrogant as to cause trouble for Fang Hao. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll only have one path left: death. Fang Hao peaked at the regional channel for a while, then switched to the territory channel. The discussion here is even more intense than in other regional channels. After all, there are no restrictions on what you can say in the territory channel. You can say whatever you want. Fang Hao is awesome, number 1 in the world. I feel like crying. You're only finding out now? I dreamed about my grandma last night, and she told me that something big was going to happen today. See, it really did. Your grandma knows so much. She even managed to drag Meng here. Master Fang Hao is mighty, the best in the world. Boss is awesome, his magic power is boundless. We are the number 1 territory in the world, and we will have more face when we go out in the future. Within the territory channel, information also scrolls. All the members were blown out of their seats, and they seemed even more excited than Fang Hao himself. Fang Hao did not reply. Alternatively, if you come in first place, It would be good to boost everyone's morale. Sigh. I'll keep things quiet for now. I don't want it to be exposed. Close the leaderboard and reopen the world trading window. Fang Hao can now sell his goods to everyone in the world channel, no longer limited to the regional channel. Fang Hao casually opened a world channel and saw items being sold by other players. Iron axe, exchange condition, 5 iron, living equivalent material. Black iron scimitar, green, exchange requirements, 20 iron or equivalent items. Heavy camel saddle, green, exchange requirements, 70 leather cards, living equivalent item. 100 seeds of Manhwa from the sandy soil. Fang Hao glanced at it and figured that this lord's territory should be in desert. All the items are related to the sandy area. Fang Hao subsequently opened several more lords' accounts and listed items in the world channel. Based on iron axe, the swap condition is 4 iron blocks. The price is reasonable, considering that the cost of crafting it is 2 iron blocks and 2 wood. If it's sold, the price for exchanging the wood and iron blocks will naturally be 4 blocks, since the wood is no longer needed. The prices of the other items are similar, all based on the original cost of materials, with some profit added. Fang Hao looked around but couldn't find what he needed. He closed the other people's shops and began arranging items for his own shop in the world channel. Initially, Fang Hao wanted to raise the prices of items sold through the world channel, given the high probability of future conflicts. But upon closer inspection, if the world channel is sold for more than the regional channel, many people in regional channels act as middlemen, reselling equipment. Fortunately, the prices are the same on both sides. Some special equipment and items should not be listed on the world channel. After deciding, I started putting each item on the shelves one by one. They don't need any publicity to claim their title as the world's #1. Once the store opens, even if people don't buy anything, they'll still want to see what the world's #1 person will be selling. Just launched, items started being bought up one by one, much faster than in the regional channel. Fang Hao was quite happy about this. The level of popularity far exceeded Fang Hao's expectations.